terms, I don't know that there's a whole lot of like totally descriptive things that you need to like know, right, to talk about it. I mean, it's kind of like a normative moral claim, to be honest.
Okay, so yeah, what do you think of traditional
mean-
gender roles? I know this seems very off topic,
Mhm.
but what do you think of them?
I think that if people if gender roles have the utility that people insist that they have, then they will continue to exist absent our like us trying to make them continue to exist. You know what I mean? Like if
So you're
people say
saying
like
if they were truly good enough, we wouldn't need a government to support said roles.
yeah, like if people say like being open towards homosexuality will destroy the gender roles, then I can't imagine that the gender roles were providing all that much vital utility in the first place, right?
Well, I'd say that if there's a systematic attack on a way of life, usually, even how great it is, it can break down very easily.
I mean, is being inclusive of other people an attack on the corollary way of life?
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll get onto that. But I've sent the study in the chat. Mansweinberg and Woody.
I can talk, but I can't read.
Yeah, no, I've sent it so you know what I'm making. Like I'm backing up my evidence, right?
Yeah, sure, that's fine.
So basically, they did a study in 2014. These two researchers. I haven't found any issue with the study, right? Because I'd like to think I'm not citing bad research. They looked in 96 countries spanning from 1981 to 2010, investigated, and you know what they found?
What did they find?
Where gender inequality was higher, women were happier. 96 countries. So this meant meaning that women were happy in places where there were larger male and female educational achievement, less women leaders, and less women in the workforce.
So that raises some questions for me. I mean, like, are you in favor of like the whole like view of like it would get borderline women as property levels of social conservatism in the Islamic country, right? I'm talking about
how much do you know about Islam?
Like imagine like not even Saudi Arabia, but like Afghanistan, right?
Okay.
Those women, I believe, if you ask them, would report levels of satisfaction that you would not expect. Probably because it's literally the only thing that they have ever known, and they're not even capable of like making the coherent judgment in the first place whether or not it would be better or not.
Okay. Right? How much do you know about Islam?
A decent amount, not on the level of quoting scripture at all.
How much would you say decent? Like, describe that to me, please.
Oh fuck! 1 second. I just got eaten by a thing. I don't know, like a rough idea of the time, like how Muhammad spent his life. The 5 pillars. I don't know if
Did
I can.
You have you read Martin Ling's biography?
No.
Okay. So I don't believe because Islamic gender roles are very different. Are different from Western gender roles, right? They are fairly different from one another. In Western gender roles, how we proceeded in the 1950s, women literally did everything in the house, the man just worked, yada yada yada. I'm not talking. Not in favor of that. In Islamic gender roles, there's a bit more of a balance between the two. So the man will help cook with the wife, they'll help take care of the kids, etc., etc. So I'm not talking about.
I'm thinking slavery. Of women can't leave the house if they're seen. Women can't leave the house by other men, then it would be this is the level of I'm talking about. If you went even to those countries, I'm sure you'd be able to find
citing Muslim countries is not a reflection on the scripture.
All right, well here let's just go back to there's a lot of things that don't connect to scripture. I mean, if you want to talk about scripture versus what actual Christians believe in America, you're going to find massive differences there. So I mean, you can't say like it's
not any country in the world.
The religious practices are
not any country in the world follows the Sharia properly. Not Saudi Arabia. They kill scholars and they imprisoned Al-Fazwan, one of the greatest scholars of all time. Well, greatest scholars in modern
age. I think all societies eventually come to the realization that that their religion is largely unpracticable to some degree or other.
Okay, that's different. Besides the point. So
okay.
What I'm saying
make the point, because you're asking me like if I know this, if I know that. Make an affirmative argument. That's the way I'd like to have the discussion.
Okay, so let's assume this study was true because it's done over 96 countries. So it actually looked at various different countries from places like Afghanistan to Saudi Arabia to Bosnia to whatever. And there are other studies that I can also send if you're interested that looked at women in the West when they found when women held more traditional views on gender, like agreeing that women should take care of running the house, leaving the country, running up to men, reported higher individual happiness in marriage, higher marriage satisfaction. So there's clear correlation here. And it's not just because women are uneducated. And especially in the modern day, we have a very good idea of what the alternative is if you live in those communities.
So women are happier when they are less free to make choices about how they live.
Well, I mean, that's putting it in a pretty bad way. What I would say.
Well, I mean, it's a descriptive claim that's true or not. Right?
Well, I'm saying you're describing it in a very hyperbolic way. The best way to put it is
I don't think it's hyperbolic.
women are generally happier in environments when they are given separate roles and responsibilities, same with men. Men are generally happy in these situations too.
Well, I can definitely understand how men would be happier given the roles that they've traditionally been assigned, such as like head of household and financial.
Well, working as financial, that's very stressful. That's not a nice environment at all.
Well, working is stressful, but being utterly dependent financially on somebody else is also stressful.
Well, these studies would suggest that's not true.
Especially when if you can't find somebody to be.
Well, typically, again, I'm not advocating for like Western conservatism here. That's obviously not something I agree with.
I'm not quite sure what you're advocating for because you haven't really made that claim
it's
yet.
Like, well, I'm Muslim, so I'm obviously advocating for an Islamic system here. So,
okay.
What I'm saying is that let's assume these studies to be true, right?
Okay, I'll be happy to do that for you. I don't really want to totally concede it, but for the sake of the conversation, I'd be happy to do that.
But these studies are peer-reviewed, and not even mainstream science even disagrees with this. Well, not much in mainstream science anyway. So,
well, I mean, I really don't know how you properly quantify in an appropriate philosophical context because, yes, you could quantify first-order desires, but you know what I mean by first-order and second-order desires?
No, don't lie to me.
Okay, there's what you want, and there's what you would want if you were able to make a free and informed decision, right?
Okay.
And I'm happy to grant you that perhaps what women say that they want matches your study, right? But
this is not saying what they want; it's saying what they're happier in a situation.
Like how happy they are, right?
But it's not saying they would want this marriage.
If you asked an African slave like that was with a really good slave master how happy they were, they'd probably say, "Oh man, it was so much better than the last guy," right?
I'm sure
they might even report levels of happiness because humans are resilient in that way, but it's really not the whole point, right? It's not even the vast majority of the point.
But we would generally say for society, happiness is fairly important, not the aim, not being on end goal, but for a general thing, society being miserable.
I like to use the term well-being because I believe that it brings into idea not just us being content with our current way of life, but also like meaningfully fulfilled in pursuing like greater outcomes and
okay, but women can do that in this too. Kids.
Well, I mean, this you're defending us. I don't know that you're defending this aspect of the system, but the system that you're talking about is one in which women have very decreased levels of it. I think it's inarguable to say financial independence. Can we say that?
In Islam?
In all traditional households.
No, not in Islam. No, men are not allowed to take away from the women's money, and they're completely earn their own money.
Where do the women earn the money? Where does the money come into the household?
Well, I mean, they can work part time and stuff like that, and just through inheritance, through other means, that type of thing. But the man can't ask the women for money. That's not a thing in Islam.
Well, no. Obviously, the men wouldn't ask the women for money. That's not what financial independence comes from. Women not being dependent. Do I need? I'm not being facetious when I say, do I need to define that term? I mean, so independence, free of being financially dependent on others.
Okay, but I don't really see what's an issue with women being financially dependent on men, because how to put this? Let me think what I'm about to say. I mean, I don't really necessarily see a problem with that because, again, according to these studies which you've granted, oh God, why did they spell the American way?
So granted, for the sake of argument,
Yeah, you granted the sake of argument, women are generally happier this way. So
well,
I mean, and also it's the sort of the
they
family's
report
income as
higher
well.
levels of a very dubious to quantify emotion.
So
Right?
this
I
argument.
mean,
Okay, so I've got a lot of people
I'm not
making this
I'm
argument
not
that
making it like
you can't quantify happiness. This is subjective happiness. Loads of psychiatrists use this. Loads of psychologists use this. It's very well renowned. Very well used. It's like to say that you can't quantify it. It's done through subjective.
I didn't say you couldn't quantify. I said it was difficult to quantify. I think you'll grant that.
Well, I don't.
And
No, I wouldn't actually.
and you can't
because
again,
all polling's
because
done on face value.
it has nested philosophical claims, dude. Is what I'm saying, right? There's no part of that takes into account what they would want if they had a very actually free choice of ways that things could be, right? And so the methodology. So yes, the methodology for what they report their happiness level is might be valid, okay, but just asking that question nests normative claims within them, or even methodological claims within them. So, for example, that humans are capable of robustly imagining like things being very different than they actually are, and then giving a valid statement of preference for what they would be like. Do you like a lifestyle that is completely different than everything you've ever known and you have been told is associated with all of these various moral degeneracies, or are you roughly happy with your current situation? I mean, like you ask that question, yes, you're going to get
well, in the UK,
the question is
okay, but in the UK, Muslims are generally the happiest out of all of us, and they generally have very, very strict gender roles. They have quite a high female unemployment rate. So, I wouldn't say necessarily, if you look at these claims as well and these studies, they suggest even in Western countries when women do have the choice, largely, very few of them would not be able to do this. They still are happier. And when women can actually, I think when people convert to these sort of religions as well, they're happier too.
Okay, that is an entirely separate question, by the way. If it's a consequentially justifiable practice to make this a societal norm, right?
Because this is what I'm debating. I'm not saying that women shouldn't have a choice. I'm not saying that.
Well, I mean, you're kind of saying that because you've said repeatedly that women might be happier when they don't have a choice, right? I mean,
no, I'm saying that I believe
that
women
may not be what you're
should have. In Islam, women don't not have to work. They can work, and I mean that type of thing. So I definitely think women should have the choice whether, but I definitely think there should be societal norms and practices, and generally maybe an education system to kind of encourage this thing. But if women generally really don't want to,
possibly be arguing for if not for norms?
What do you mean?
Like, what do you want to convince me of if not that we should adopt a differing set of norms than we currently do?
Well, I'm just saying I think maybe society should encourage it.
Or that a society that has norms of LGBT acceptance is threatening. I think that's where we got started, right?
Yeah, but I'm basically trying to. It's a long argument, right?
I'm here for you.
It's a long point. So basically, okay. You've granted me that, so we can move on from that. Okay. So would you say anything that threatened the well-being of society, anything threatened the social fabric of society is generally a bad thing? So I generally say something like racism threatens the social fabric of society and something that I vividly oppose, right?
Well, I really wouldn't put it that way because it tends that seems like it leaves it open to like put the coherence and like samenity or unity or some other word of society privileged above just things being good for people, right? And what I really care about is maximizing human well-being, the ability for
not societal.
Societies are composed of humans. If a society is full of very well-adjusted, fulfilled, happy people, I'd be happy with that. All right.
So would you say?
I don't think that's so like, but if there was a it's I don't want to write off, for example, multiculturalism or something similar to that, right?
So would you say something that is generally, let's say there was something like a net negative for society, like racism. Yeah, I'll come back. I'll use that example again. Like racism.
Sure.
Would you say it would be best that society generally opposes it?
Yes, but
Okay.
not because it's
Okay.
important that we have societal cohesion, but more like it's because racism really hurts people,
But
right?
that is to do with societal
And it really
cohesion.
well,
Societal cohesion really hurts people. If social cohesion is low, then that really hurts people.
I mean that's not necessarily true. I mean,
Yeah.
again,
If
all right, parse that for me in a way that doesn't implicitly reject multiculturalism.
well, because there have been studies to show that diversity and multicultural is generally correlated with increased social cohesion. There's a study on Australia that looked into this. I'm for
Okay, well
multiculturalism.
then you're using social cohesion in a way that I'm not quite tracking. So that's why I say at this
Oh,
point.
okay. Well, I'm not. I'm as a Muslim, I'm very opposed to racism, stuff like that. So,
Sure, sure.
I think I don't know what your position on immigration is, but from what, actually, yeah, what is your position? Just so I don't assume what your beliefs are.
Um, I'm actually don't have super solid things here because I don't really want to express things in a like totally free open borders way. Like I'm a country which let whoever wanted to move in so long as they we could check that they weren't like criminals and terrorists and stuff. I'd be fine with. I like another way
Okay.
to say that was I would reject like quotas or negative quotas from like we don't want people of this country or this religion or blah blah blah, right?
Okay. Okay. All right. Yeah, I just didn't want to assume your view.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that's always a really bad idea in debate to just assume someone's view. Because I was about to say,
Yeah.
oh,
Well, that's why I didn't. What was happening in that last room? It was like, well, let me just assume that what he's. I'm like, no, right? I'm like, people.
A bit off
Everybody was
topic,
ready.
but
Yeah,
a bit off
everybody was
topic.
ready
But
to
I think they were
put
being very
uh,
just unbearable, and it was
yeah.
really like,
Well, everybody was very ready to put you in the box of their favorite tribal enemy slash like fort like representation of bigotry.
okay, yeah. Well, my view, my views are come from a compassionate angle, right? I don't actually hate
Hmm.
I wouldn't hate somebody for being
Well,
gay.
a lot of people really like to think that that's the case, right? Like
No, for
feeling
example,
compassionate is not incompatible with doing harm.
yeah, of course, but I mean, I'd say most policies do harm to some extent. But I'm saying, my angle isn't that I hate people who are gay because they are gay. I've actually,
Can I say,
my
and I'm not trying to put you in a box or
yeah, sure,
strawman you in any way,
yeah,
just to
sure.
illustrate my point of the lack of connection between compassion and good outcomes, is that I've heard and I have no reason to doubt that the members of ISIS throwing gays off of rooftops were doing so out of love for them to try to stop them from eternity and hellfire, right?
No, they would be put into hellfire if they threw them off the building.
Well, I mean that's not a normative difference for you. That's a descriptive difference. What you're saying there is that what
They
they
didn't do that out of
believe.
compassion. They did that out of
Well,
their obedience.
I don't know how you can
I'm just
claim
saying
that.
that's not a really good compassionate claim. But
No, I
let's
agree. It's not ideal way people tackle one another for sure. I agree with that.
So okay, so we would agree that yeah, so social cohesion. What I mean by that, society really getting along, people, liking each other, people being happy. I'd
See,
say
the
generally we
reason
should
why
prioritize that.
I don't generally value that is because, like I can imagine a white nationalist society that has a lot of social cohesion and is very cohesive as a society. It's just full of white people who don't like other people who aren't white. Right? That isn't a society I would prefer, even if I was a white person. Right?
Okay,
So you could have everybody agreeing on a shared set of horrible norms, right? That would be a cohesive but not valuable society.
okay, but I see which I do value a point you made there. But however, I would say there is a moral difference between homophobia and racism, for a number of reasons.
Okay,
Because
sure.
I think for one, well, let me get the study up. Sorry, this might take a bit.
Sure.
Yeah, well, so it's sorry, my voice has been quite bad.
Do you think what would you think of a society that was supported off the unpaid labor of very happy and fulfilled slaves. Of slaves who report very high levels of subjective happiness, but were nonetheless slaves. What would you think of that?
Well, I do think what's it called? For one, are you trying to imply that traditional gender roles and
I'm not trying to
slavery?
play anything. It's a philosophical example for me to try to check out
Okay.
your normative claims here. I'm not trying to catch you on anything. I'm
Okay.
just so like for
Um,
example, your study focuses on subjective happiness, and there's other things you can care about besides subjective happiness. So I'm wondering if we had if we had a society that had very high levels of subjective happiness in a very large class of slaves,
yes.
what would you think about that society?
I'd say, well, I believe slavery is inherently wrong. Well, for the most part, anyway.
So
I
inherently
mean,
wrong
what type
a
of slavery are we talking about?
that's a question begging thing for me.
What type of slavery are we talking about?
You can go on chattel's slavery.
Okay,
Right?
yes, chattel
Like
slavery, but
imagine African slaves who were super well treated and actually just so much better off than in America, but than in Africa. They had worried about less about disease. They had greater creature comforts. They had more food. They even had time for hobbies, right, and a robust family life. But they were slaves. What would you say about that?
I mean, if they were better off in Africa,
No, better off in America from Africa.
I mean, better off than would have been in Africa. Then I'd say that's slightly better, but I'd still say the act of chattel slavery is still wrong.
Okay. I'm happy to engage with you on any normative moral claim. It's just if you say inherently, that's just begging the question. So I'm gonna want to. And
well, that's my.
But on the other hand, but on the other hand, I know that an infinite application of skepticism is going to hit bare bottom at some point too, and it's not like just because the person who asks the skeptical questions is going to win, right? But I don't believe that you think slavery is inherently wrong. I think that you think you have reasons to believe it's wrong.
I think. Well, I mean, I have my religious values of chattel slavery being wrong.
Okay, so I mean, and then your religious values could be justified or not,
Pardon?
right? Your religious values can be justified or not.
You cut out.
I said your religious values could be justified or not. Can you not hear me? Other dude, can you hear me? Hello?
Right-click the internal. If you're using your external, right-click the external. The options are the same.
So where do you come from? This. I meant. What is your ideological position relative to your friend? Cool. I'm not a debater. I'm a philosophy undergrad, which is probably better. Oh, cool. Yeah. Well, all Oxfords are Oxfords to me, the ignorant American. I did Cornell University Arts and Sciences for my undergrad, and then I did law school at Syracuse University. Now I do assigned counsel family law in upstate New York. Law school was hard. Law school, they do this thing, especially the first year, where it's not as much about teaching you as it's about weeding out anybody who can't quote unquote cut it by burying you. You know, they did it to my mom in nursing school too. I don't know exactly how valuable that is, right? I mean, on the one, it just seems like a brute force method, right? It's basically you throw a lot of promising would-be attorneys that way, right? Because the practice of law is almost never under the same constraints as law school, right? Law school pressure is way bigger than the actual practice of law pressure. I think we lose some. We see some like people flame out. All right, hey Bo. So
what are you guys talking about?
Just where we went to school and stuff. Nothing particularly relevant. That's cool.
I'm not typically. I hate how Robert boxes me into things.
Conservative people who are willing to talk to me is I place a premium on them. I tend to be more charitable and more forthright and
I'm
respectful
not
of them than anybody else. Well, you're conservative by my lights, but however you want to self-identify is fine.
I'm more reactionary.
All right. Yeah. So let's say we have a country, right? And let's say we do a study just like you did now, right?
I understand
And-
the point you're trying to make. You're trying to say that happiness
Well-
is not the only thing that comes into factors. There's also
Well,
morals.
no. This is a different point. I'm trying to start off with. Like if you asked in general all women in the country, were they happier or not under a set of traditional gender roles? Assuming the majority of women fall within those traditional gender roles, you're going to see a relatively high level of satisfaction being reported. But the very act of asking that as a national level question, and then using it kind of univariably, either this is good or this is bad, is that of course a lot of the women who don't fall within those traditional gender roles or are struggling within those traditional gender roles are not going to have levels of satisfaction that would be reported highly, and they're just going to be drowned out by the majority. And so then the question is, do we have a society in which women, regardless of the relationship to traditional gender roles, are free to find satisfaction in their own way? Or do we have norms that say, no, really the traditional gender roles are the better way to do things?
Well,
Right?
we don't have norms anymore.
Well, we all have norms. You cut off that sentence. Everybody has norms.
My Wi-Fi came back. Oh my god.
It's incoherent
sorry, I
to have no problem. It's incoherent to say that there's a society without norms. Societies and norms are like the same.
No, I think society does have norms, but they're totally not traditional anymore.
Well, there's certainly vestiges of it, right?
Are there?
Like your paradigm
Muslim women are constantly attacked for being traditional. Like the very idea of modesty and chastity is all very attractive. I don't know about America.
Well, so
it's
my
all very
stand on
attacked in
that-
British societies.
So, but I don't attack it from a women shouldn't be free to dress that way sort of way. Okay, my problem with modesty is, so like you take head coverings, right, and you call that modest. Every woman who thus then doesn't cover their hair is under a society that has norms where the head covering is modest, is themselves immodest. And immodesty can be a basis for a whole lot of types of prejudicial and unpleasant treatment of those women.
Surely we could say the same thing about mandatory clothing laws, and if they don't wear clothes, then they'll get that treatment.
Yeah, so I for example, I have no issue with women breastfeeding in public, right? People treat female breasts as if they are very, very different than male breasts. Right?
Oh, they are.
Now,
let me get that study.
Now, do we want to have a society where everyone is
a lot?
I don't know what I can do. Can you hear me, other dude? Am I cutting out for you too? Okay, it's got to be you, bud. Make sure your whatever you're taking your audio output devices is plugged in solid.
No, I think it's probably my internet.
Okay, well, if you need me to repeat anything,
sec.
I have a lot of patience for this, so whatever you need to do, let me know.
Yeah, one sec. Where was it? For men as a function. I think this might be useful. I haven't read the study in particular, but I saw this Guardian article that talked about something similar. But what you just said about female breasts not being sexual, that's not true. They're actually designed to be sexual.
I didn't say they weren't sexual. Okay.
Well, you said that you treated any different from male breasts, and male breasts aren't designed to be sexual.
From a normative standpoint. So
they are designed
evolutionary. First of all, everything is designed evolutionary, right?
Okay, but you made the claim.
Glistening male pectorals are approximately as attractive to females of who are straight as a variety of bosoms are to men who are straight. Right?
You've just said that male breasts and female breasts is no different, but
they're different in society.
A male breast that is in a different state.
They're different in the way that
you've just described one that is. Please let me finish.
Okay.
Describe that one that is in a perfect condition. So yeah, obviously, but female breasts are inherently designed to be sexual, while male breasts aren't. They can be, sure, if they're worked upon, but they're not inherently designed to be.
Okay, so there's a couple things here. One is what you're describing, and which I will acknowledge, is differences in the way society views those different anatomical features and the degree to which they sexualize them. Okay, and I don't doubt that people view female breasts as sexual more than they view male pectorals as sexual, even inherently, if that makes sense. Okay, but you're throwing around a lot of words here, like, so the way you speak is like as if a god designed boobies to be looked at and sexualized and
Well, they're not sexualized
men
upon
things
gaze.
have.
They are designed to be by evolution, anyway.
Well, the
According to
evolutionary.
theory of evolution.
I don't like this way of talking about evolution, because evolution isn't an actor that designs things. Okay, that personification and anthropomorphizing of evolution is prone to a lot of easy misunderstandings. Okay,
Sure, but
and
you
it's
can
also
apply evolutionary theories here.
it's also prone to naturalistic fallacies, which we should avoid. Right.
Sure. But there is scientific research to suggest
So
that female braids are inherently
before I started
sexual.
breaking up, I was okay. There's no scientific evidence that a designer designed boobs to be sexual. Okay, there's no scientific evidence of that. However you want to describe the attendance scientific studies. Okay, the way you're
I wasn't
speaking is
talking
not
about
supported by
a
science.
designer, but they
Okay,
according
you
to
can't say
research.
designed without designer. Okay, and the fact that you keep saying designed when there is no designer in the first place is what I'm pointing out as an area of
Okay,
potential
well, according to the
misunderstanding
theory of
here.
evolution,
Because
female breasts
when you
evolved to be
say
attractive to
designed,
men.
you then get normative about
Okay.
it, right?
So, according to some scientists, female breasts have evolved to be sexual towards men. So
That's a super undisciplined way of saying it. And again, so first of all, we can find societies, right, and track them where totally fat dudes, like totally flat, grotesquely fat dudes, are the pinnacle of sexuality, right?
Do you know knowing better?
Why don't you just make the argument instead of asking if I know things? Just say what you want to say.
Well, knowing better made this argument about made this video about him attractiveness. He's like left wing and stuff, but he made this and he pointed out that most people, when there are societies that are considered like fatness attractive, they're still like below a certain BMI range. So I'm sure, but they're never like grotesquely obese or something. And sure, there are different ways that society finds attractive, but the difference here is that, according to at least some scientific research, breasts are have evolved to be sexual towards men, while fatness hasn't evolved to be sexual to men. That's more of a nurture thing, while the other one's nature.
So there's the science of evolutionary biology almost never allows for univariate analyses like that, right? Breasts in the form that they have are justified on an evolutionary basis in a variety of ways, not merely sexual. In terms of the efficiency
I didn't say they were really sexual.
Well, in terms of the efficiency of storing
they're not merely sexual,
energy,
no.
the ability of delivering milk to newborns, and so on, and society and men in a society, or just people in society, develop sexual preferences that have some evolutionary basis, but are certainly not one-to-one, right? Like you could say, people like men enjoy women with wide hips because it's easier for birthing, and that's why they find that more attractive. I mean, you could say that. First of all, that analysis is always post hoc, and second of all, we're again speaking at very broad generalities, and like there are of course men who don't prefer that, right? There for every generalized statement that you make,
Saying
I can
that
find a very large subset of
rule doesn't disprove a rule.
No, but it does make the following normative claim incumbent upon us, which is that
there's always
we should treat claims about society as if there are people who will fall within the exceptions. Okay,
can you
let me finish this? And we can make the normative claim that society should be geared towards perpetuating these circumstances that work for most of the people most of the time, right? But that's not entirely clear. We could have a society that is open towards that, right? That doesn't have any negative judgments, that doesn't view gay people marrying as a threat to the people who are they're making their own choices to live as they want, right? Whether or not we should be open or tolerant or accepting of alternative lifestyles is a very open question, irrespective of how any particular study falls about the general satisfaction of women in the traditional setting.
So you're saying that we shouldn't rely upon scientific research in this discussion, more philosophical?
What I'm saying is we can't just substitute descriptive scientific claims for normative ones, right? Normative ideologies have to be justified in a number of fashions, and just picking a number of statistics from which you draw a narrative. Yes, the statistics are valid, but the fact that you've based a narrative on valid statistics does not mean that the narrative is valid. And the narrative is what's going to matter to everybody. It's going to affect how we treat each other. Okay, so no, I'm not throwing out science with the bathwater, but I'm not going to say that the other study you linked before about differences in self-reported happiness in traditional societies is...
But that study wasn't looking at traditional. It was looking at 96, which is almost half the countries in the world, which would include non-traditional. And I've also said, not
Well,
purely
you said
that
that there's more satisfaction where there was more differences.
Yeah, but this wasn't looking at purely traditional societies. It was looking at a very large range of countries over a longitude period.
Okay, so here's something I want to bring up to you.
Sure.
If breasts are evolutionarily designed to where men are going to find them attractive, we don't need norms or laws that support that. It's going to happen, right? We don't need to defend the ability of straight men to be interested in breasts, right? That will perpetuate unless we go off in some wildly sex-negative Puritan route, okay? What people often say is, if we are totally open and accepting of homosexual couples, right, and their ability to get married and adopt and do whatever they want, that you're simultaneously claiming that the traditional way of things is evolutionarily ingrained, scientifically evident, and yet prone to be completely overthrown by merely accepting alternative lifestyles. I have to answer this phone call real quick. Okay, I'll be back in a minute.
No, okay. I just want to map account.
What should I call you, Huey Freeman picture guy?
You know who he is. Yusuf.
Yusuf, okay. Yusuf, are people born gay?
No.
No, they're not?
No, it's to do with parenting. So I don't have the study on me, but basically from what I read, it was basically to do with parenting. So like, if the father spent less time with a child when the younger spent more time, the mother more likely to develop homosexuality. Doesn't comment on lesbianism or like transgenderism, but that's what.
So I think you'll find that study might be that they were more likely to express their sexuality.
They didn't say that. They said they were more likely to be gay. They didn't state they were more likely
to identify as, perhaps. I mean,
yeah, I think
there is no scientific standard for being gay. Okay.
There's also no scientific evidence for a gay gene either.
Right. Okay. But we can note it, for example, 100% of homosexual of children who are homosexual in their sexual affiliations, or what word am I looking for here? I don't want to get caught up on it. In the 100% of homosexual children were raised by straight parents.
No, a lot of them are raised by homosexual parents as well.
How are these homosexual parents?
Pardon?
How are these homosexual parents procreating?
What's it called? What's that thing called again? IVF. That's one of them. Partly adoption.
Okay, so I'm aware of that. That is incredibly expensive and very new. Okay, for the vast majority of all of human history, get beyond the vast majority, for everything beyond like a literally immeasurable tiny portion of human history, all homosexual individuals have been given birth to by straight parents and presumably raised by straight parents, right?
Okay.
It has been only straight parents who have produced homosexual kids. That is the only people who have been able to.
Okay. What's your point?
Doesn't that seem to suggest that it's more complicated than simply how they're raised? Right? Why do we
Could
see
be.
homosexual homosexual kids coming from very, very strict religious anti-homosexual households where the normativity against being gay could not possibly be higher, and they were raised in that environment, and yet their kids are still gay? How can that possibly happen?
Probably due to bad parenting. That could be a large factor. Like the
Do you
fathers
think
were
that
just
being
not-
gay is a character flaw?
Or do I think it's a sin?
You could describe it however you want. I believe if
Yeah, I
it was
think it's-
inherently
I
a
think
sin, it
it's
would be a
morally-
character flaw to you.
I think it's
right?
morally wrong. Yes, but
Okay.
um,
Why is it morally wrong? Let's get to the heart of this.
Okay. So, because I've stated earlier, it breaks down traditional gender roles and norms. Because typically, men and women.
Well, you haven't cited evidence that that's happened. You haven't
What?
you haven't cited evidence that traditional gender roles break down because of gay people or acceptance of them, right?
Well, if we look at the past, do you know about the what's the name? The overhauling of straight America.
I've never heard that phrase.
Okay, well, it's not a phrase. It was a very important. Let me get up. Overhauling of straight America. So this happened in the 90s. The most influential. I know it's by the Christian Post, but it's actually legit. Okay, someone wait once.
We're still on the question of why is being gay a character flaw, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, over the past 30 years, America's gone from a relatively conservative Christian country to some country that openly celebrates homosexuality. In
Sure.
most
I mean, it
governments and
doesn't really make sense to say that in terms of on a population basis. It's still a deep cultural wedge. But yes, I'd agree. As far as a matter of law, that's
well,
the case.
gay people are a lot less likely to be bullied.
Right? Yeah. No.
let
There
me
used to be
Let me
something
back,
called
let me back up that claim.
there used to
let
be
me
something
back-
called gay bashing that was very common.
Not
I'd be interested.
anymore.
I'd be interested if you thought gay bashing was a sin, as your understanding of it was. People who go
okay.
out and see gay people flamboyantly dressed up and coming out of a gay nightclub and would beat the shit out of them and then take their money was doing that a sin or not?
Yeah, I think that's wrong.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's wrong. I don't encourage violence. Okay, let me. Okay.
Do you think norms against homosexuality might be related with norms for violence against homosexuals? Do you think there might be some connection there?
Do you think being prejudiced towards homosexuality leads to it?
Leads to violence against homosexual people.
Quite possibly, but that doesn't mean that we should be against it.
Were you aware that there was actually a defense under the law called, I believe, gay panic, where there was
a thing called Section 28 in America, in the UK.
It was a defense to, I believe, it was either murder or manslaughter, where it was an actual defense if you slept with somebody who believed with a woman and found out that they were a man, that you could beat them sometimes to death.
Well, that's transgender, isn't it? Not homosexuality.
Well, they're related.
I mean, a lot of gay people would disagree with that, but that's a very different topic.
Like cross-dressing gay men aren't transgender.
Sure, didn't say they were.
They don't believe they're women. They believe they're men in dresses.
Yeah. But okay. So, because this is more of a philosophical point. So basically, because men usually, go after women, and women usually go after men, when you start complicating that and saying that no, actually you can go with anyone, that makes gender roles harder to be. How do I put this? So it breaks down them in a way because you're saying, oh, now this can be normal. This is just
you think
normal.
there's straight people who are into women who want to have sex with vaginas, who upon being told that actually it's not wrong to fuck a dude, would be like, all right, let's fuck dudes? There's a the population the straight population is under threat of going gay just upon learning that it's okay to be gay.
No, I think more people would be because what I said earlier. You can. Well, are you still playing League of Legends?
Nope.
Okay.
You have my full attention.
My genes has changed with sexual orientation. People's sexual orientation can change over time. People are usually not always gay. So
well, human sexuality is far more easily expressible as a spectrum, right? And the less you try to put people in the binaries, the more it makes sense. You know, a 15-year-old boy like getting a handy from his friend in college, or I mean in high school, on a weird, up late dare 30. I don't know how weird things get. Maybe they're both watching porn or something. Things get weird, right? That doesn't make them irreparably gay for the rest of their life, right? That person can often still go up and just have, and in fact, closeted, specifically Republicans, go off and have kids and fuck women and procreate while being gay, right? And then they get discovered years later, like getting a handy in the bathroom in a men's airport, right?
Yeah, I'm sure they do. So what I would say it is that it can give kids the illusion when they're younger that it's fine, and then it can make them more susceptible to it. And it can make people.
You have a lot of loaded language in there. Okay.
Do I?
Yes. The illusion that it's fine is a loaded normative phrase, right? That very strongly implies that it's not fine, right? So here's my question. There's a dude, full adult man, okay? He has sex with another adult man.
Yeah.
What negative moral consequence can you identify in that scenario?
Because it normalizes a behavior that is destructive to traditional gender roles, and the reason why I'm saying that is it blurs the lines and makes it more acceptable. Pardon?
Okay, there's a couple of things there. First of all, I don't know how normalized society is when it comes to by two adults having consensual sex in a bedroom somewhere, right? To say that normalizes in a meaningful way societal behaviors is in itself a dubious claim, right?
No, because those people would tell their friends and tell their other friends.
You say that traditional gender roles have a lot of utility, right?
Well, I think they're best for what society, best for raising kids, and best for individual happiness and societal happiness as well.
So, in terms of raising kids, if you want to have a scientific basis, we have a religious organization that tried to that had every single ideological foundation for concluding otherwise, who did a very robust study and found that
about
kids
not having kids.
No, that kids do about as well off as one another so long as they're in nuclear families. Two parents.
Two parents.
Right?
Oh, so you're talking about gay parenting?
Yes. There's no scientific evidence for that. The children raised by gay parents.
Well, there is a lot. Right? Actually, this is well.
I'm sure you could find, a study claiming that there is, right? But
that and the research you've just stated is really bad. So let me get up. What's the freaking name? Okay, my name. Yeah.
All right. I don't want to get distracted and throwing studies against each other because it's never useful. Okay. So
no, this is a very big point of contention, right? Because
so you say that traditional gender roles have utility, right? And that they are evolutionarily ingrained in us.
Perhaps.
You don't know? You don't know about boobies being designed to be sexualized?
I would probably I would probably say traditional gender roles are generally ingrained. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And they've survived in a vast array of different societal organizations, right? No matter how you organize society, at the core of it tends to be straight men fucking straight women to make kids, right?
Yeah, wait. Sorry, I need to make a Google Doc of this quickly because I can't send it through Discord. Give me 1 sec.
So, if
1
if
second.
if we aren't kind of dickish to gay people having sex in their own bedrooms, how is the fabric of traditional gender norms going to fall apart? Considering that it has
Because
all
they
this
talk,
utility and all this evolutionary support, and it seems to be robustly found across human history.
because, well, in the modern day, how do I put this? In the modern day, that it's really hard to go against these things because we have this constant assault of just misinformation about these type of things, and every societal level attacks, including education, that attacking this, actual genuine conservative religious values. Then yeah, of course, that would distract a lot of people, and even
Okay,
though they might
well, you've changed the
individually
topic a
feel
little
like
bit
it,
there. You've changed the topic a little bit there. We're not
it's
talking
still to
about
do with the topic at hand.
well, tangentially. What I asked was, how is one dude fucking another dude in a
You're
closed-off bedroom going to bring down gender norms? And you started talking about literally institutions that have their stated aim to teach people that gender norms are wrong, which is totally. We can get to that.
Let me finish what I was saying. Okay, let me see if I can just okay, how do I share this? Oh wait, I can just download it, yeah.
Can you just respond to my points, man? Like, I'm sure it's a very impressive
give me
study.
one
I haven't read the other 3 studies, and we're not going to read studies here, right?
We're not.
And well, not right now. You want to sit here while we both read each other's studies and
Okay,
point out n equals blah blah blah, and I
story
think
short.
that I go, what about twin studies? And you go, well, twin studies are different here, and different, like it's much easier and to get at the normative claims, right? Because your normative claims
Okay.
could be valid or not, irrespective of what any particular point
Okay.
is.
But just to finish what I was, about this, a long story
Mhm.
short, basically most of the studies that say there was no difference in gay parenting had very small sample sizes. They didn't control for various factors, and they were really bad. And they didn't, most importantly, account for social desirability bias. And social desirability bias is basically when they would ask a gay parent how well their kid was doing, and oftentimes they would over exaggerate or outright lie how well their kid is doing. When they did control for those factors, they would find out there were major differences, and more increased antisocial behavior. But okay, so what I was saying is that you're saying, oh, how is 2 dudes having sex in a room together going to affect traditional gender norms? So what I'm saying is that in the modern day, please let me finish, that every institution, almost virtually every institution, even like some religious organizations at this point, have attacked this idea of the traditional gender roles and stuff like that. So of course it's going to be brought down, but basically when let's say you have a friend, do you oppose drug use?
No.
Okay. Let me think of an example. Okay, let's say you had a friend when you were younger who happened to be a racist, and you didn't know whether racism was wrong or not, and they kept on telling you about like loads of racist stuff they did do.
I care very much about talking to conservatives about not saying hateful things and supporting hateful policies.
Okay. What was I going to say? Basically, that would normalize it for you, and when more and more people do a thing in society, that subtly normalizes people.
Has there ever been a case in society where the whole society ended up gay, or the ability of the society to
Komlut.
So what is that?
Komlut. They were the ancient society of Lot.
Is this a biblical society?
No, they're not. Well, I mean, technically biblical.
It's like, all right. I'm interested in solid historical evidence, right? I'm aware of Lot, and that has its own things we could talk about, but I really don't want to get sidetracked by the specifics of that. I want you to answer the very specific question, which I really don't think
society would ever become fully gay, but it would become normalized to the point it would be seen as equal or very, very common, as well, which is still very problematic.
And then why? Then what happened? What happened to these societies? Like the gaydom spread, and what happened?
Typically, they typically became unproductive. Birth rates fell, stuff like that. Is what I would assume.
Why would that happen? Why would
naturally have children?
No, but what you said, not productive. Why would accept?
Because if you have 40 or 30% of the population not making kids and just arbitrarily.
Has that ever been the case, dude? I mean, do we have in modern historical, like solid, like historians agree it exists, 30 to 40% of the population is homosexual, not even like bi, but homosexual specifically? I mean, is that
Well,
that
let's
is
say
a bizarre
LGBT.
statistical anomaly.
But I'm saying like places like in ancient Greece and other places, towards the end of it anyway, it was very common. Ancient Rome.
No, right in the middle of it. Right in the middle of it. Spartans, those manly men who were the best soldiers in all of antiquity and fought the Persians to a standstill. They're all boy fuckers, okay? They fuck
Okay.
boys like you wouldn't believe, all right?
Okay.
But let's not get caught up on that. We have a very specific thing, and we keep talking about different things. An adult man has sex with another adult man in the privacy of his bedroom. Why is that wrong?
I've told you that people, when they do things, they talk to other people, and that becomes normalized within society just through general discussion and association. I've already stated that.
Okay, so homosexual men having sex with other homosexual men is a threat to straight people. How?
Because the people, even if they might not be gay, they might support LGBT rights and LGBT causes.
Well, okay, but if there's nothing wrong with that, then there's nothing wrong with that, and we should avoid to not.
I've already given you how.
So no,
okay, but discrimination is inherently a bad thing.
Okay, yes, treating. So, for example, I can point to right now little kids who are attracted to individuals of their same sex being tortured by their parents by thoughts of going to hell for eternity, of threats of social ostracization, being kicked out of the family, becoming homeless, right? This I can point to right now. This is conservative people.
You realize that's very unlikely to happen these days.
No, it's not unlikely to happen.
Yeah,
right?
it is. I've just cited a statistic right there.
Okay, so here let's.
So the stigma model is incredibly flawed as well.
First of all, there is a reason for that homosexual youth are vastly disproportionately represented among homeless youth. Okay, but that's one claim.
Also, I would like to add there was a. This is also on the topic of acceptance of homosexuality.
Okay,
why it doesn't really work.
And isn't but no, I want to catch you on something, right?
Sure.
You said that this behavior of treating gay children like being absolutely horrible to them, to the point to where they want to die because their suicide rates are so high.
I don't advocate for that.
You said that this
practice suicide rates is not due to stigma.
You said that this. Well, what? Naturally homosexual people are just prone to. No, there's many studies. Okay, homosexual youth are vastly underrepresented in homelessness and.
This controlled for social stigma, and they still found out they're more likely to be depressed and suicidal, and this can be attributed to genetic causes. So, and also there are other studies that I have found that show.
Stop talking to me about studies. Stay with me on the actual arguments, please.
No, but this is very important.
Because listen,
this is very, very important.
Have you ever heard a racist? Listen, no. Have you ever heard a racist go?
You're telling me not to cite information.
Listen, have you ever heard a racist go? Blacks commit 50% of homicides despite being only 13% of the population? You've heard that, right?
Yeah, of course.
And that's true, right?
Yes.
And what's wrong with them is not the fact that their statistics are wrong. It's the way that they're using it, and the narrative that they're drawing from it is wrong. Right?
Okay.
So this is the similar concerns I have with you. Because if I engage with you on the study, I've done this before. It's fruitless. I can engage with you on 50 studies. We'll find 50 studies more. Okay, I'm not interested in throwing studies.
Saying you can find quantity of studies that are better doesn't mean you're necessarily right. You have to look at the methodology and the claims.
No, I understand. And beyond that, making normative claims based upon those very specific descriptive claims is also something that demands incredible scrutiny. Okay. Now. You said that,
but there are also you said that.
No, listen. You said that people treating their kids like absolute pieces of shit when they're gay has gone down, right?
Yeah. Again, I don't advocate for this, by the way.
You don't. So a negative practice that you don't.
Well, I don't advocate for treating them like shit. I advocate for them.
You don't advocate for treating them like shit. and people are treating them less like shit now, right?
Yes.
Why do you think that is?
The overhauling of straight America.
So I'm going to rephrase that into being accepting more on a social level of LGBTQ people, right? Of treating them less
But that doesn't
like they are
work.
subhuman, negative, sinful garbage.
But that doesn't work.
Well, it
When
does
they-
work.
No, it doesn't. When they when its societal acceptance has gone up for this, it's their suicide rates have actually gone up as well. And it's even when they controlled for social stigma,
Why?
which is already a flawed
You've
model.
already said to me that the instances
So,
of
but you're
kids being treated horribly because of social stigma have gone down, right? And they seem to have gone down at approximately, to me, the exact rate and the exact period of time to which LGBT acceptance and ideology of similar fashions has
that's
spread,
actually going
right?
down now. But yeah,
Right. So, and it used to be that if your kid was gay, the shame would be that your kid was gay, and now the shame is that you treated your gay kid like a piece of shit, right? That's a shift in norms, ethical norms in America. Would you agree?
I see. Yeah,
Okay,
don't
and that's a
disagree.
positive shift in ethical norms, right?
Well, I disagree with that. No, I
Wait,
generally.
wait,
I
no,
don't,
okay. You're not. So
I
it
don't
would
think
be better. So
normalization and
it
the
would be better
normalization
if
of
we
society.
treated little gay kids worse. That's what you're saying?
What I'm saying is that I think if we say it's wrong but don't actually harm them, then yeah, I'd say that's better.
Okay, so saying it's wrong is harming them. All right, because they're not going to all of a sudden awaken a sexual desire for females. Okay, what happens to these gay people is that they go their entire lives without having meaningful sexual relationships, or they marry some poor woman and they can't get it hard for most of the time that they're with her. They have a very deeply unsatisfying relationship, and then they divorce 50 years later because he finally realizes that he was gay. Right?
Mhm.
There's no you're not making people who would have been gay not gay, right?
Well, it can cause them to reevaluate their.
You might cause them to stay in the closet. I do agree that being
And that can cause
terrorized
them
by
to-
religious bigots will cause gay people to stay in the closet. And
sorry.
right?
But yeah. What was I gonna say? Sorry for laughing. What was I gonna say? Yes, but that would also cause them to later, probably more likely to become heterosexual, according to the
No,
Mike Keane
it would
study.
cause them to willingly enter a marriage with a heterosexual woman, right? And have deeply unsatisfying sexual relations with them. And maybe they procreate, and maybe they don't. But there's do you care about a lot of science, right? I'm guessing you have some really wonderful studies showing how effective gay conversion therapy is, right?
Well, apparently there's one study, but I don't know enough, so I can't really go into it.
Okay. Would it surprise you to learn that gay conversion therapy basically does nothing except for raise the suicide rates of those who participate in it?
Well, the one I read said it lowered it, but don't know.
Would you be
who's the study
surprised?
done by?
All right.
Also, are we
Just
typically talking about?
just look into the entire area of gay conversion therapy. Okay.
Are we talking about electric
find
shock
any.
or other methods?
I'm talking about any way that you try to convince a gay kid not to be gay.
One sec.
There is.
No, there's actually evidence to show that can be effective.
Really?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I don't believe you.
Oh, sorry.
Right?
I turned it down. Sorry. I turned
No,
my mic
I can hear you on that. This is the one thing where I'll actually take a stand. Okay, and I'll just leave it to your own honor system. Okay, look into the scientific literature surrounding the efficacy of gay conversion therapy.
I can do.
And if you find that gay conversion therapy actually results in homosexual kids no longer being homosexual, and then them going on to live deeply fulfilling straight lives, then go ahead. But here's what I can do. I can point to a lot of things that you say should be happening right now that aren't.
Like
right?
what?
Like, have birth rates very, very significantly declined in the past 20 years.
Not significantly, but they have declined. Yes. Actually, no, wait, no. I did read something about that because there was something about food production. Yeah, no, birth rates have gone down a fair bit. Yes.
Okay, and that is that just a thing that's a descriptive fact about society, or is that a bad thing to you?
That's generally a bad thing. Yes.
Why is it bad for parents to have fewer kids?
Because more kids you have, generally you're happier. And I think it can lead to
really?
Yes.
I'm assuming you have a plethora of studies for that too.
I've already sent it. Oh wait, have I? No. 1 sec. Becoming happier. Yeah. Also, you obviously have to control for.
I have a very important theological question for you.
Sure.
Okay. Why did God, or whoever deigned to design the sexuality of us humans, okay, this is very important. Why did he place a male G-spot, a penis length, inside the male ass?
Oh God. Give me a sec.
You could take as long with that as you want, but I will demand an answer.
No, I already have an answer to that.
I'm very interested in what it is. Because I don't know how you can claim that breasts are designed to be sexualized, yet men aren't designed to be butt fucked.
Where did I put it?
Is this like a performative thing? You're going to find the response that you have? Like, are you stalling for time? I'll give you time.
No, I have the. I just wrote an essay a while back and I can't find it anymore. 1 sec.
So you can't remember what you wrote?
No, I remember what I just wrote. I'm just getting up the evidence.
Okay, well then say it.
G-spot exists.
What?
Yeah.
All men who are reporting that they get sexual gratification from the stimulation of the prostate, they're lying? Are they tricked into it? What the fuck are you saying? That's nuts.
Okay, sure. If you believe that, but here's the study. The male G-spot does exist. Oh, okay. This says G-spot. Male G-spot.
Are you literally looking through like 8 different things that all say the male G-spot exists, trying to find the one that you remember saying?
No, I'm trying to find the source I used, but I don't know if I can.
Okay, we could trust women in traditional homes, right, to accurately report their levels of happiness.
Yeah.
Do you think it's a gay conspiracy about the whole butt sex feels good thing? Do you think that it really doesn't? That it's a performative exercise? Come on. Right?
I have no idea. I can't comment. I have no idea.
Butt sex is a giant threat to heterosexual relations, right? And if people learn about butt sex with other dudes, they're basically as likely as not to like stop being straight. But there's no way whatsoever you could even conclude that butt sex feels good. That's what you're saying?
Well, according to this study, anyway. Like,
what do you mean, dude? Have you ever met a gay person?
Yes, I have a gay friend. I have several gay friends.
Okay, and based on your interactions,
I don't
have you ever you don't. Well, I wouldn't. If I was gay, I wouldn't talk to you about my sexuality either, right? In order, right?
Okay.
Because you're just fucking out there, dude. Okay. Like, are you
out there?
I mean, are you honestly claiming, right, that you have no idea whether or not your prostate being stimulated can result in sexual gratification? You have no idea. You're totally agnostic on that. No evidence one way or the other.
Look, you can look at the evidence I've sent you to suggest there isn't any evidence for a male G-spot.
Okay, I can read whatever biggest study you link to.
Did they have really
the
good
entire
reason to believe
why are all
there
these
was a
people
weapon in the
fucking each other
vehicle?
in the ass, dude?
Probably because I don't know.
To piss you off, dude?
Yes.
Okay,
you should calm down. You should calm down.
Well, you should start making sense, okay? Because there's there's a level of bigotry that I will only tolerate in the presence of sense making.
So it's
Yeah, what do you mean?
So
Fucking
if you're gonna claim
moron?
that gay people
I've
don't get sexual gratification from butt sex,
I don't know why.
you don't know why. You have no. They don't procreate. There's no other health benefits. They don't there's no fountain of youth that comes from getting fucked in the ass. They just do it.
I'm not
It's a
doing
totally,
it.
it's a totally mysterious behavior of gay people. They fuck each other
Well, they
in the
probably
ass.
have the illusion of having pleasure, but if there's
Oh
actually
my
a juice
God!
that exists, no. If
Okay.
there's an actual juice that scientifically exists, then no. I can't really comment.
Okay.
But
Yeah. Okay. So scientifically, the self-reported happiness of female in traditional households that exists, but the self-reported evidence of male orgasms from the ass.
It even actually says on Wikipedia that G-spot has not been proven.
Ugh,
1 sec,
it doesn't.
you're cutting out. Sorry. 1 sec, you're cutting out. Please speak.
You could figure this out for yourself.
Hello.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Hello. Hello.
Can you hear me, other dude? Because I didn't. Yeah, it's him again.
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Well, I'm not going to unpin him from the butt. Can you hear me now?
It actually even said in Wikipedia that it has not been proven.
Okay. It's
I don't know what to
inconclusive
say
whether or
to
not.
you just seem to be getting quite emotional about this one arbitrary point.
I'm actually going to break my own rule of engaging with people on study basis, and just I'm just going to search sexual gratification, prostate stimulation, and see the degree to which you're lying to me about the inability to discover this. Okay. First thing, sex MD, prostate stimulation for sexual pleasure.
I'm not assuming you're lying. You shouldn't assume I'm lying either.
No, I'm assuming that you're being deliberately obtuse about something that's inconvenient for you theologically. Which is the fact that if human sexuality is by design,
give you a feel,
then so is sexual gratification resulting from prostate stimulation, which there is no basis for in any traditional relationships whatsoever, except for gay relationships. Okay. And it's either you're fundamentally agnostic about why all these gay people are butt fucking each other, right? You can't possibly understand it. It might be that it feels good, but you don't know.
I am wondering why you're getting so passionate about this.
Are you gonna tone police me, or are you gonna just keep dodging in different ways, right?
No, I'm genuinely wondering. Like, this is not a big.
No, it is a big point of contention. You don't even know if prostate stimulation resulting in sexual gratification exists, according to you. You're fundamentally agnostic about it, right?
I'm saying one study that I found, and there are other reports to say so, that says.
Okay, I'm not asking about. I can find a study that says anything, dude.
Okay, please do.
I can find a study that says anything.
That's a truism. That's not an argument.
Okay, and the truism is the fact that you found a study about something is of zero actual worth. In terms of like even in science, no, you have to show why gay people are butt fucking each other for no explanation.
You're asking me to prove a negative.
No, I'm asking you to not be deliberately obtuse about the fact that people who are having sex with each other are doing so for sexual gratification. You are. Being deliberately obtuse. You definitely are. Right?
Look, assuming someone's motivations in any debate is not useful. I'm not going to assume that you're about some gay conspiracy trying to ruin the West and ruin civilization, and you shouldn't assume that I'm just deliberately being obtuse on this one point. It's just not productive and quite immature.
Why do gay people have sex with each other?
I don't know, and I don't.
You don't know why gay people have sex with each other?
But you're not even refuting the point I've made or the study I've cited. You're just asking me this question.
No, I'm dodging your irrelevant point, and I'm going to the core of the issue. Why do gay people have sex with each other?
Yeah.
You have no clue?
Possibly the goal towards intimacy.
Why would a husband have sex with his postmenopausal wife?
Goal towards intimacy.
There's no part of sexual gratification plays in that for either of them?
Well, the goal of sex used to be intimacy, but now it's become a sexual thing
itself.
Well,
I don't know how you could possibly say that, okay? Mister, I resort to evolution when it's convenient for me, and I resort to Puritan moralism when it's not. Okay.
Well, I'm taking this from the book on Human Nature by Sir Roger Scruton. He talks a lot about this.
Okay. So So you
I'm
want to make
sure there is
evolutionary claims.
pleasure.
So there's no basis between sexual pleasure and and procreation and the perpetuation of the human species, right?
There
You
is pleasure.
who makes very specific claims about the sexuality evolutionarily of the female breasts have nothing to state about the relationship between sexual pleasure and the tendency to procreate.
I never denied there wasn't sexual pleasure involved in sex. I've said the G-spot didn't exist.
For anybody?
Yeah, according to this anyway.
Okay. Well, according to the entire body of work on all human sexuality throughout all of time, erogenous zones exists. Okay? And that stimulation of those erogenous zones is an integral part of pleasure. I mean, of sex.
Wait,
Okay?
Are the G-spot and the
No,
erogenous
so
zone the same
the
thing?
G spot is allowing you to equivocate. Is there a single spot named after this dude whose name started with G? The answer, I don't know, right? But does sex feel good to people, and is that why they do it? A large extent, yes. Okay.
I've
The
never
vast
denied sexual pleasure doesn't exist.
okay.
I've
The vast
never denied that. What I challenged you on and what I don't agree with is the male G-spot being in the arsehole. I've never denied sexual
You-
pleasure doesn't exist.
is there such a thing as sexual pleasure from stimulation of the prostate?
Well, I don't know, but according to this, the G-spot doesn't exist, so it wouldn't be in the male
So
arsehole.
I'm not talking about the G spot. Stop equivocating on that. I'm talking about sexual stimulation of the prostate. Are you telling me that if you Google sexual
let me try and
stimulation
find
of the
that.
prostate, you will find no body of literature, right? No supporting scientific evidence whatsoever that the prostate is an erogenous
Hold on,
zone.
you just said a little while ago that there could be loads of studies, but now you're
Well,
suggesting
no,
that.
I'm asking so for you, finding one study that supports literally anything you
Um,
say is enough. So I'm asking you to find literally one study about male androgynous zones, including the prostate. Right? Do your rigorous scientific research, right? And if you come back to me and you honestly represent to me that your honest reading of the sociological and scientific research, EROGENOUS.
Okay, thank you.
Like, why am I finding all of these tutorials for like the best way to sexually stimulate your prostate? Is this all fabrication?
A tutorial doesn't necessarily mean something's right. I don't.
No. A demand for a body of literature about the proper way to stimulate the male prostate, right? There's no body of literature about flicking earlobes, right? Why is that? Why are so many people who make their life work out of writing about and talking about sex convinced that the male prostate is an erogenous zone? Why is that? Why did that take place?
Are you trying to imply the argument that because people dedicate their lives' work to something, how could it not be true?
No.
Okay,
I'm asking, why are all of these people talking about specifically the prostate? It would be weird if there was no basis whatsoever to conclude that the prostate had anything to do with an erogenous zone. There's so many glands in the human body. Why is there an entire body of work about the proper way to stimulate? Okay. Do you understand that milking the prostate is like a fucking medical thing that they do? They stick your fingers in your ass and stimulate your prostate to get you to come and orgasm in order to get semen from you? Do you acknowledge at least that that's a medical procedure?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, why would rubbing up against a prostate in a dude's ass cause him to orgasm and come all over?
Not sure, but certainly on the G-spot.
I'm gonna act as if you've granted the existence of the prostate as an erogenous zone at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, can move past that. Getting fucked in the ass feels good, at least to some people, some of the time.
Let me check.
As a result of physiologies.
Also, let's see. How far? How far is good? Okay, so even if there was a G-spot there,
Okay.
I would like to add that it's still really bad for you, anal sex?
Uh,
Like,
well, you can do it safe. You can do it safely, right? All types
you
of stuff
can,
can
but
be
you can
dangerous.
also jump
Yeah.
a building safely. It doesn't mean it's like something that you
Yeah,
should do.
yeah. You could also fuck a woman safely or not, right?
But
Don't
anal sex
for
is generally more
example,
dangerous.
don't screw a woman in the ass and then the vagina. Do it only the other way around, right? Because you'll give them UTIs. Okay, but let's not get sidetracked. Okay,
But the point is it is actually quite painful generally, and
so
it's actually quite
so
bad. It can lead to
so
cancer. So just saying that,
oh
there's that,
come on.
Yeah, it can.
If
Come on.
you can safe like millions
I
of
wasn't
gay people
commenting, I'm just
across
trying to find
millions of
something.
gay people across the country have safe gay sex with each other. Okay.
There we go. All right, cool.
And in fact, there's no consequence of gay sex that is anywhere near the level of danger to the human body represented by pregnancy. Okay. So
well, the key difference is pregnancy is actually useful for society. That's
well,
one thing.
I think orgasms are useful to society. But let's set that aside. Okay, you've been making some very specific arguments.
What's it called?
Look
what I just said.
So either homosexuality is a sin because God says so.
Well, yeah, I think it's because God says it. But I think there are secular reasoning behind it.
Or it's it would be harmful to our continued existence as a species due to certain evolutionary reasons, right?
Yeah,
now,
you can make the argument for both.
either God made gay butt sex feel really good,
but
or
it doesn't feel good. It's actually quite painful.
we've evolved. You don't know that. Shut the fuck up. You
I've sent studies right there.
You didn't fucking. You've never shoved a single thing up your ass. Okay, don't talk to me like you don't know if sexual stimulation exists of the prostate, but you do know that all these negative like medical things. Like,
are you seriously saying that because I haven't put something up my button that I?
No, I'm saying that you're not that your continued efforts of being deliberately obtuse are not being effective.
I'm not being deliberately obtuse. And
yes, you are. I'm not assuming so. I'm using the evidence of your speech. Okay, the fact that you've immediately found all of the negative consequences of butt sex, including cancer,
I had that in my notebook.
But it's beyond you whether or not butt sex actually feels good. Right, that level of there's no other way to describe that besides being deliberately obtuse. That is the most charitable explanation of your words that I can get.
But that doesn't mean it's actually a good thing. And all I did was deny the G-spot existed, and you went
okay.
Really angry for some reason.
I know it doesn't mean that it's inherently a good thing. None of the claims that you are making are about the essential morality of the way we use our body parts are valid. Right, I'm trying to get to that. Right now, either male butt sex feels good because there's an evolutionary basis for it, or else it wouldn't exist. Or male butt sex feels good because God intended for male butt sex to feel good. Okay, can we get there?
Well, what's it called? So you're saying on one horn of this, one crux of this argument that God intended for gay sex to feel good.
I'm not making any claims about God. I'm doing a reductio of the two different ways. You pointed to sin as resulting from dictates of a deity. Okay, that's one area of concern you've identified with homosexuality, and the other one is the continued existence of our species in an evolutionary fashion. Everybody will get gay, birth rates will fall, blah blah blah. Things will go crazy. Okay, now either there's an evolutionary basis for butt sex feeling good for dudes. Or God did it on purpose. Okay, you can't escape those on anything that you've said before. You have to literally refute the very basis for the normative arguments you've been making this whole time to deny that descriptive claim.
So you're saying that? Repeat what you just said, please.
The fact that male butt sex feels good, right? And the fact that human sexuality is designed in a way we can draw normative lessons from. This is what you've said before. For example, boobies are designed to be sexualized, right? Okay. Either evolution, and whatever broad amorphous terms you use, designed the fact that butt sex feels good to men, or God did.
Could you actually prove this?
There's no what other consequence. I'm taking for granted your assertions. I'm not making any other claims.
Could you prove that? Could you actually prove it's pleasurable for men, please?
Dude, like do you want me to link you a video of a man reaching orgasm by only stimulating his prostate? I am happy to do that for you. Would you like me to do that for you?
Scientific literature or anything like that would be nice.
Do you think it's not scientific evidence? A dude, I can show you 100 dudes shoving something up their ass, and without touching their penis, they come, right? And only by anal stimulation do they reach the orgasm. Not that it's the only way that they can, but it's the only method that they use, right? I can have hundreds of thousands. There is, in fact, probably no greater amount of data available in all of science than of the various sexual proclivities of humans documented in pornogaphy. Okay, now, I mean, it could be a vast conspiracy of gays creating thousands upon thousands of videos of men tricking the viewers into thinking that they can reach sexual gratification by shoving things up their ass, when in effect they're doing some other trick of the camera, or like have a packet of cum that they're squirting, or something to trick people, right? The lengths to which you're going to deny that sexual gratification results from anal stimulation in men shows to me and to anybody who would have been listening to this conversation exactly how much you recognize that the existence of that is devastating to your coherent application of any principles you've said so far.
I wouldn't say so, no, but let me do something. I'll mute my quick. Okay, so something feeling pleasurable doesn't necessarily mean it was designed to be pleasurable, right? Because that could just be a byproduct of something else. Let's say we take the evolutionary branch here. That could just be a byproduct of something else, and that doesn't necessarily mean that that was the cause of something. So, I mean, some people find, I don't know, pain pleasurable, but that would mean the evolutionary cause of pain is pleasure. So you're asserting something here, and if we actually look at the practice of sodomy, it is, as I've sent those things, what's called, it can lead to incontinence and stuff like that. So it clearly isn't safe. So,
by the way, the number one practitioners of sodomy are straight people, just so you know.
Yeah, probably, and I'm against that.
I know you're against butt fuck. I think if your wife like asks you to butt fuck, I think you should at least consider it as like
Nah, it's Muslim women don't answer that. It's haram.
Oh, geez. Well, all right. Well, we could get to the degree to which your religion polices female sexuality later. Okay, because I don't want to get. We could talk about that later. What I'm concerned here is: do you think that God had any relationship with the design of humans?
Yes,
the humans could be, right?
Yeah, obviously.
So, do you think that this was that God made a mistake and oops, male orgasms from the butt?
I can't. What's it called? I don't fully understand why he does everything he does. So,
okay. Well, that certainly hasn't stopped you from making pretty strong moral claims against people and the right.
Sure.
So if you don't know why God,
I'm not acting.
Why God
made acting like I know God, because
if you don't know why God,
I think any religious person.
Stop interrupting me for a sec. If you don't know why God made butt sex feel good to men, then maybe you should. Then maybe you shouldn't judge it that much.
It's still bad. Also, I don't judge necessarily more that. I judge more.
Okay, it's bad for men in the same way that pregnancy is bad for women. Pregnancy is medically catastrophically bad for women. Okay, but when practiced safely, the risk is benign in comparison to a life without any sexual gratification, any sexual partner, any intimacy. Right? Okay. The fact that they have to lube and practice other safe standards. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What all that is to say, I mean, you could say similar things about having sex with women, right? There's nothing that happens to gay men that is so medically catastrophic as what happens to straight women. Okay, no, vaginal sex is not way safer than anal.
Yes, look at these things I've just sent you.
Okay, what do you think the leading cause of death of women throughout history was?
Pregnancy.
Okay, were there? Was there a vast swath of anal sex-born pregnancies? The body count of vaginal sex is so much bigger than the body count of anal sex that it's like a
Okay,
joke.
I'm sure that is, but that's because of medical practices and stuff like that. While anal sex.
No, it's
in
because
modern
of
society-
uncontrolled ejaculations inside vaginas. That is the precipitating incident of all vagina-related deaths. Not all, probably the most. I don't know, somebody probably got hit with an axe somewhere. The vast majority of the deaths that suffered exclusively by women are the result of uncontrolled ejaculations inside vaginas.
Okay.
That is an
Why is that the cause of
absolutely
death?
necessary preceding event
Why is that the cause of death?
because it results in pregnancy, which is a medical condition that we've had very limited treatments for throughout the vast majority of human history, such that the number one cause of death is pregnancy for a woman. Such that if I was a woman and I wanted to have sex one time, and I had to guess on which version of sex was much likely to kill me, it's ass sex every time. It's 100% anal 100% of the time, right? If I'm talking about just a safety standpoint.
You're really skewing the statistic here because you're saying throughout human history when we didn't have common medical practices or contraception or anything like that, we actually look at
okay, but if you're gonna grant if I'm gonna grant that, then you're gonna grant the fact that we have high-tech ultracarbonate polymer whatever the fuck lubes, and we there's a whole body of literature on how to safely ass fuck. Okay, so if you want to bring that up, that's fine.
I'm sure there is, but the key thing
but
in modern society
vaginal
is
sex is still more deadly than anal sex.
Maybe by raw numbers, yes, but that might be
as opposed to what?
More women.
More deaths, more deadly.
HIV and cancer all from anal sex, and I can't remember the term for it, but when you lose control of your bowels and poo yourself.
Okay, so by the way, can I share a lighthearted story? I actually know a girl in high school was getting butt fucked by her girlfriend and shit all over them. Okay, she lost complete control of her bowels and diarrhea all over him in his bed. Right? I'm sure a very traumatic experience. Nothing even close to the trauma of childbirth.
But that can be permanent sometimes, you know.
Well, yes.
That can permanently mess up your health.
Yeah, so is the trauma of childbirth.
But having kids actually makes you happier, though. That's a key difference.
Well, sometimes.
No, it does generally. When you
when you say generally, I say sometimes they're the same thing, not universally.
No, they're not. Sometimes is that's a bit less rare. Generally, is most of the time. According to Professor Diamond,
and in fact, I'm gonna guess that there's a number of qualifications that you're putting on that. Like, right? I don't think that going from 4 kids to 5 kids would make the average single mom happy, but you go, oh no, well, not single moms, well, no, they don't count. I only mean that it makes you happy if you have if you're financially dependent on a man who is in fact capable of supporting you and all of your children, and if your only responsibilities are the procreation of children, then having a child,
raising a child in poverty. Well, I mean, it depends, but in terms of, I'm not pro what's called. I don't know what you're trying to say here.
Well, the core issue here is that all of your naturalistic fallacy bullshit against gay people is undermined by the existence of the sexual stimulation of the male prostate. That's my core issue.
It's actually inherently bad for you, and there could be other reasons as of why that exists.
It doesn't make sense to say it's inherently bad for you. Okay, if you want to do it, it would be the same. It would be the same consequentialist analysis. It would be the same consequentialist analysis that you would have towards anything else.
It results in increased HIV,
and it results in close, intimate sexual relationships with other people, right?
Okay.
And
also, I've never said that homosexuality was unnatural, by the way.
Okay, well, all of your normative claims so far have been naturalistic fallacy.
I've never said it's unnatural. Something can be unnatural. Something can be natural and be immoral.
Okay, well then, what does it even mean then for it to be natural? So what does it mean for homosexuality to be natural from a theological standpoint? What does that draw that out for me? Make that a coherent thing to say.
Well, I don't know what you want me to say. Yeah, sure, it's natural, but that doesn't mean it's any less wrong.
So God could have designed humans one way, right? A way in which men fucking other men resulted in no sexual gratification. But instead,
I would
God
like to
designed
add you
humans in
haven't
another
actually
way.
provided a source for this. Like, I'll
All right,
grant you it. But
all right. 1 second. I'm gonna go. Just 1 second. Cool shift N
if you're
XX
going
as
to send me a
videos.
pornographic video, please don't. Actually, send me a scientific literature on this.
Well, this is a scientific documentation of a man reaching
Please
orgasm
don't do
from
that.
only.
Please
Okay.
actually be mature and send me a scientific literature that states it, not a video.
Okay. Let me see here. Google
I'm not denying things,
prostate
but you're making an accusation that you
prostate
haven't
gland
provided.
human anatomy.
Also, how much longer can you debate for?
As long as you want, bud.
I think I've got about another half an hour before
All right, here. Medical news today. What is prostate milking? Prostate milking and how to do it. Does that do it for you?
let me have a look. Oh, it does say there are risks.
Okay, you're not allowed to say that there's scientifically valid risks unless you're also saying that the scientific existence of the sexual gratification exists. All right, I will give you the risks if you give me the orgasm.
I'm sure that I've never done. I'm sure there are pleasures to it, but just saying there are pleasures to something doesn't make it any less wrong.
Well, no. I mean, it's broadly pleasurable from a physiological aspect.
But
It's
it
not
also
some kink
has loads
thing.
of risks to
It's
it that
not.
you
It's
haven't
not like
addressed,
I
like
get off from
constant
having a
pregnancy.
dude put his dick between my armpit, right? Right. That could be a kink, but milking the prostate is something that you do to men. It's a button you push that makes semen come out, dude, and it's in their ass. Okay, I don't know, like if your argument rests on the denial of those facts, then you have very serious
I'm not
concerns.
denying it. What I'm saying is that you're trying to make the argument that, okay, as this exists, therefore homosexuality is like natural, therefore
No,
good.
I'm not making. That's not the basis of my argument. It's a reductio of yours. Okay,
but
you cannot
exists
state
like this
any of the
doesn't mean
things that
it
you've
is
said
bad.
about homosexuality without granting that by design, butt sex feels good.
I mean, you're also heavily implying, or outright saying that, well, heavily implying that this is the sole reason of why this exists, when there could be multiple
No,
reasons.
we haven't gone on to anything else. This is the thing. You've been actually, and I put it to the fairness of to a third party observer. You have devoted a huge portion of the past at least 20 minutes to denying or trying to undermine the idea of the existence of male anus orgasms.
I denied the G-spot exists, and you even conceded that it didn't when you looked at the Wikipedia page.
Okay.
So that's what I was debating.
So
I wasn't debating.
All right. Well, then let's lock in all of these gains, right? Male orgasms exist because there's either an evolutionary basis or a theological basis for it.
Well, I suppose you could say from a theological point of view that
well, this is where I expect you to go. If I was going to steelman you, if I was going to be, the prototypical religious conservative, I'd say yes, butt sex feels good, but that's only because temptation to sin has to exist before you abstain from it. I don't know why you would like that. Would actually be coherent, and we could continue the theological instead of just like I don't know if it feels good. It would not be honest of you to say that you have not spent a specific portion of the preceding conversation.
And you just moved on to a completely different thing. Completely different. You didn't move on to a completely different thing, but you moved the goalpost when I said, "Oh wait, no, that doesn't exist." I didn't deny that what's called anal probing exists. I said I don't know, and I don't. Sure.
Okay.
From a philosophical point of view, sure. I mean,
I'm not leaving it open to you to be scientifically certain of the risks of anal sex, but not scientifically certain of the benefits of it. Okay.
Pardon?
I'm not leaving it open to you as a move that you are convinced by the potential harms of anal sex, but are completely open and agnostic as to whether or not there's any sexual gratification that results from it. Okay, I'm not leaving that open to you. Okay, if you want to say that you have a scientific studied understanding of what happens when men fuck other men in the ass, okay, that's open to you, right? That's fine. And I'll even grant you all the bullshit about it causing cancer. I'm sure one dude got cancer one time. I don't know. I don't understand. But you then can't turn around and say, but it's totally an open question whether or not it actually feels good. Okay, it's not open.
I didn't say it was an open question whether it feels good. I said it was an open question whether that.
You have spent the past like half hour trying to demur from that point, and as far as I've got you is, maybe it feels good, but more as like some sort of access capacity or some type of weird kink of some people, right? I mean that's as far as I've got you, right? And anybody who is listening to this conversation should note the fiery resistance you displayed at
what I laid about the G-spot,
at the existence of male prostate orgasms. It's not scientifically untrue.
It does.
The male prostate, the male. Okay, yeah, you're equivocating on that. We've realized that before. You found a thing that said we don't know if there's one specific spot named after the dude who starts with G, right? That's fine. But what's not fine is saying therefore we don't know about sexual stimulation of the prostate, okay? Which is a different subject, okay? If you want to equivocate to say we don't know that a G spot exists and try to sweep away prostate orgasms, you can try to do it, but you're not doing it past me. I can see what you're trying to do. Prostate orgasms exist, and you're going to have to deal with it in your theology if you want to condemn homosexuality.
I'm sure. And I've said that. I said, yeah, there can be temptation, sure.
What does that mean? They exist, right? They exist. Not this male prostate orgasms exist. Can we get there?
Yes, I've not denied that.
Okay, all right. That was so fucking hard, dude. That was so fucking hard. Like that was supposed to be an offhand comment like 40 minutes ago. But here we are finally.
You made the argument that the G-spot existed, and I argued you against that. If you make a false claim.
No, I originally said G-spot, and I knew that you were going to equivocate on the medicalizing the term G-spot, so I very quickly started saying prostate is an androgynous zone. No, I said what, so you saying it causes cancer and shit, which, whatever. Fuck, I'm not even going to engage with that nonsense. All right? But then we're here. We're back. How do we know that homosexuality is wrong? Even though God clearly intended for it to feel good. Right?
Because
let's start from here.
Temptation for sin, same way that drinking alcohol can feel good, but it's still morally wrong from an Islamic perspective.
No, but why is it morally wrong? Right? You don't just get if you just say from an Islamic perspective, you're just begging the question, right? I understand that you right? Okay, and religious perspectives can be justified or not. You don't just get to say it's religious, therefore.
Yeah, but what you asking me from a theological point, so I'm giving a theological point. Sure, yeah, that exists.
And I'm asking about your moral certainty in the condemnation of certain human sexualities. That's where I'm coming from. Okay. Now, however you source it, it's fine.
To address your point here from an Islamic perspective, there are things that do feel good. Like premarital sex in Islam is a sin, but it does feel good, and that involves temptation. So that applies the same here with anal sex for men. So that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And also, why didn't I talk about this either? So there's actually an evolutionary scientist called, I think his name David Groyper. I can send you the paper if you're interested. But basically, he said, from an evolutionary point of view, there is a very good case of being opposed to homosexuality for the aforementioned reasons I've said. Because he said it breaks down family ties.
I don't care about any. So nothing about two dudes having sex in a room should threaten your family. If two dudes having sex alone in your room threatens to break down the ties of your family, then the ties of your family are garbage. Okay.
We're going around in circles. I've already said
we're not going around in circles.
Normalizes people when you discuss this with people. Well, then let's get more normalized.
Okay.
And then people might become more likely to support LGBT rights.
The only thing that's circular is your question begging. Right? Is the fact that you called normalization of gay people bad, and then when I ask why it's bad, you say, well, because Islamically we believe it's bad. Okay,
I said because it breaks down traditional families and ties, and then
first of all, you can't. First of all, you've presented no evidence, no argument, no even mechanism by which that would be the case.
No,
so tell me, listen, give me a plausible.
Scientists agree.
Give me a plausible explanation of this. You, your wife, and your kids are sitting in a room. Okay. Happy family life. Down the street, two dudes are fucking. How does that destroy your family life?
I've explained this a billion times. Okay, so, what I've said is that it's not necessarily that act in particular, but when people start to think, oh, maybe there's not anything wrong with this, and maybe homosexuality is just fine or just equal to heterosexuality.
Are you worried that you're gonna want to fuck dudes?
No, I'm not that. Can you actually listen to what I'm saying, please?
No. Well, I'm so. Why are you not worried that you're listen? Why are you not worried that you're gonna want to fuck dudes?
Because I know it's morally wrong. That's why. But that's besides the point.
The only thing keeping you from fucking dudes is that you think it's morally wrong. Otherwise, you'd be fucking dudes.
And also, I'm not attracted to them. I guess.
Okay. When did you choose to not be attracted to dudes?
Most likely born heterosexual. So.
Oh, okay.
But anyways,
so
can you
that's interesting because
I'm trying to say?
No, I'm going to tie that down because you just said you were born heterosexual, and you just specifically said otherwise that people weren't born gay.
No, I don't.
Right?
I said people aren't born gay.
You said people are not born. People are born heterosexual, but they're not born gay. You never made the choice to be heterosexual, but gay people make the choice to be gay.
I didn't say gay people made the choice to be gay. That's just
well. Then what else? What other explanation is there?
I've said there's parenting, like I said earlier.
But they either are inherently gay or they're not, right? They're gay or they're not. Can we get there? So they can choose to not be gay then.
Possibly they can choose to repress it, yeah, and choose not to act on it.
See, there we go. They can choose to repress it, and they can be miserable, and they can make their wives that they're lying to about being straight miserable as well.
But I've already showed how, even if we accept them, they're still fucking miserable, right? They don't if accepting them
because when we do accept them, then instances of kids being kicked out of the house for being gay go down.
Okay, but let's look at national suicide rates. That stays the same even if you accept them, because the stigma model is fundamentally flawed in this case. And accepting them, even when they control for stigma, still meant they had higher suicide rates and depression and drug and alcohol.
Okay, saying they still had higher suicide rates, controlling for stigma, is to say that stigma contributes to the suicide rates. Do you agree or disagree?
Pardon?
Stigma contributes to suicide rates, correct?
There's not a very strong correlation, no.
There's no strong correlation between a gay kid being told that he's going to go to hell, that he can never, live out his sexual affiliation as he wanted to, that he's going to be ostracized by his parents unless he lives a life for the rest of his life, and that God hates his sexuality. Nothing about that is going to be strongly correlated with that person killing himself.
Let's see.
Used a longitudinal analysis and found that sexual orientation was associated with poor mental health even after accounting for a variety of psychological risk factors, while it didn't consider stigma. Well, discounted the impact of stigma when the is this like translated?
No, this is why I copied it off. It could have been bad copying through an app or something.
Now let me parse this. So you believe that the research concludes that telling a gay child they're going to hell, there's no valid expression of sexuality whatsoever, that they have to live a life for the rest of their lives and uselessly grind with their half chub against their unsatisfied wife for the rest of their life. No connection, right? That's your statement.
Yeah, there's not strong evidence. No, the stigma model doesn't really show this. Wait, 1 sec. All right, there we go. And even when LGBT acceptance went up.
Why has suicide rates among gay youth been falling so drastically recently?
No clue. But
no clue. No. It might have nothing to do.
Actually, wait, no. LGBT, no. Trans suicide rates have just reached 50%, up from 40.
Okay, you're changing what I said here. Here, I'll link you a thing, right? Since we link things.
What year was this, mate? Okay, 2017.
Just gonna point out that
I wouldn't be able to tell you that from these studies that you haven't rebutted, There is no evidence that
All
stigma.
right. Well, you haven't rebutted this study, right? Like we could play this game. That's what I'm saying. It's a bad faith game, throwing studies at each other, right? Articles about studies and studies done for very reasons. It takes so long to dig through studies that I'd rather just engage with you on the normative points, right? And we haven't dug down even a little bit, and you wouldn't even attempt to give a study for the theological basis for your rejection of homosexuality, right? Because it would be incoherent for you to even suggest that there was one, right?
Pardon?
Do you have a scientific study that provides that is the reason why you have a theological objection to homosexuality? Are you going to give me a study that says that this is the study that shows why God thinks homosexuality is wrong? You're not going to, right?
Well, no, but I mean, I've cited the evolutionary biologist David Groiper, who said there's a very legitimate evolutionary point of view.
I don't care what one guy says, right? That's irrelevant to a
But this
conversation.
is all based on research. It's all one people or one person,
Okay,
right?
okay.
And he's a very good researcher.
Okay,
right?
but the fact that
and he said this,
okay,
and you're not
any good
refuting
research.
I don't care what he said. That's not an argument. You've actually got to address the point.
The argument is that there's no scientific justification whatsoever that's even possible for your theological condemnation of homosexuality.
But this isn't just a theological condemnation.
Well, it's partly of it, because my understanding of the way people use studies is that they find whatever study is in support of their particular normative ideology. That's my experience with people, and I'm not saying you're operating in bad faith. I'm saying that's a psychological fact of confirmation bias. People
yes,
are going to
generally try and look at other studies as well.
People are going to heavily weight things that agree with them. Okay, well, then let's talk about.
You need to. You're just saying that you people look for things they agree with. Like, okay, that's again. Truism.
No, I said that people do. Confirmation bias is a known psychological phenomenon. Okay.
But look, according to him, right, very well renowned.
Here's why I care, right? If it was unequivocal that God thought that homosexuality was a sin, was there any scientific evidence which would upset that assertion for you?
What do you mean?
Let's say it is your
unequivocal. If I found a scientific study that debunked all my points about homosexuality, would I?
No. I'm saying, is there any scientific study that could possibly convince you that God is wrong about homosexuality?
If we assume science to be an objective truth, then quite possibly, yes.
How could it possibly be? Right.
If it showed
let me step back. What sources do you have for your belief that God is normatively against homosexuality?
The Hadith and the Quran.
Okay, so, are you thinking about scientific evidence that shows that actually those documents were man-made? I don't think you are, right?
Well, actually, when I get that, link tree.
Or are you? Would you look only for scientific evidence that says those were wrong? Right? Because what I don't want to do, I'm not going to sit here and waste time shooting down study after study with somebody who, at the end of the day, is going to, for theological reasons, dislike gay people anyways. It's a waste of time. Okay?
So you've admitted this. I mean, so you've admitted this debate's a waste of time.
No, the debate isn't a waste of time. Right? I'm engaging with your attempt to find the right combination of linked studies to make me go away. That's
just going. Oh, I don't care. Like, what? I don't get what you're doing. You can't say that. Oh, I've been engaging with you when I literally brought up a credible research. I mean, I don't care. That's one guy, which is just the one. I don't.
Okay, well, because you use citations as if they're substitutes for arguments. That's what I'm identifying as an issue here.
Well, okay? I'm saying that
that guy could be right.
Says something about evolution, which you've tried to argue there's nothing wrong with homosexuality from an evolutionary point of view. Surely, if you said something that clearly contradicts.
So, what I'm not interested in is having an evolutionary discussion about somebody who, no matter how that discussion turns out, would still be against gays for theological reasons. Right? What I care about is the core reason. Right? Now, if you were theologically for gays, right, then we can start talking about. Then we could. Well, you can be. There's people who identify as Muslim. There's various understandings of what it is to be a Muslim. You're not the gatekeeper. You don't know what the one truth. You don't know what the one truth faith it is.
You can't not be a Muslim and gay. I'm saying that
You can be a Muslim and be accepting of gay people. They exist. Okay.
No, you can't. If you look, no offense. I understand Islamic scripture and Islamic theology way better.
All right.
Than you.
Well, then you're going to leave yourself open to claims like Islamism is inherently bigoted. If that's the only valid way to, right?
Sure. I'm not disputing that. I'm not disputing that.
Well, I think you would dispute that, right?
No,
I don't think you would ever. I don't think you would ever describe your faith that way, right?
Well, I'd say it's opposed to homosexuality, sure.
So, how do you know that God is opposed to homosexuality? Especially since God created the fact that homosexuality feels good in the first place. How do you know?
Let me 1 sec. This is why. 1 sec. Okay, because it says in Surah 7, ayah 80 to 84, because it was condemning homosexuality with the story of Lot.
Okay, the story of Lot in the Bible is.
I don't care what the Bible says.
Well, since unless you want to provide a basis for why the Quran is correct and the Bible isn't, then me talking about the Bible is different than you talking about the Quran.
Definitely evidence that the Bible. Wait, Robert is a Christian, but I don't think I mind. But yeah, you can see evidence that books of the Bible were very forged and stuff like that, and it clearly says in the book of Numbers,
you can see evidence that the Quran was largely plagiarized from pre-existing religious works.
Right? But it wasn't. And what's it called? Just saying something similar to something doesn't mean it's plagiarism, because Islam is meant to be the continuation of truth started with Adam.
No, I know it's a part of it, Islam. That's the way that Islam has hermetically sealed itself. Everything else is true. We're just more true because we came last. I understand. No,
we're true because the previous scriptures have been corrupted, not because we're last. That's why. And you can see how, throughout the entire Abrahamic scripture, they never said.
All right, why should I respect Islamic belief?
I mean,
why shouldn't what? Okay, well,
why
should I not be for secular institutions? What's wrong with secularism, right? Keeping all that Islam out of my government. What's wrong with that?
That's a very different debate. This is a completely different debate. That's a very different debate topic and something that I am not prepared for. So, I mean, I could, but this is very
it's the same topic. Okay,
we're talking about
how we should normatively treat gay people. What, you have no opinions about whether or not the government should be involved in that?
What's it called? Well, I think the government should be involved in that. I don't believe in LGBT rights.
Well, if it weren't for the secular state, then what we would have is just Christian theofascism, and the Republicans and the Muslims would be equally miserable here.
Yeah, well, I'm not pro Christian fascism. I'm pro the Sharia.
Okay, but how do you choose?
Well, because
right? I'm somebody who was raised outside of either religious tradition. Both of them are both religious traditions. Scriptures are wildly ahistorical. All right, and it just so happens to believe.
Can you name me a surah from the Quran?
And it just so happens to be.
Can you name me a surah from the Quran?
No, they're gonna keep on this particular point, okay? Because I'm not playing. Because I'm not playing. Who can cite their favorite verse more with the Muslim? Okay.
No, I didn't say verse. I said surah,
cool.
Which already shows you don't understand the Quran. So you're just saying, they're both widely historical. But the Quran.
I understand that all religions have an equally no basis for commanding the truth, for claims to be truth. They're all roughly incoherent in their own ways. Right.
Sure, you're welcome to believe that.
Just the way it makes no sense, right? That God designed prostate orgasms but didn't want people to do it, right? It doesn't make any sense that anybody should worship as an object of faith deity that created bone cancer in children, right?
Okay, but we're literally getting to the problem with people. This is really going off topic. Okay. Let's get back to the topic at hand, right?
Okay, what do you view as the topic at hand, if not the normative validity of religious claims?
LGBT people are deserving of rights, and I'm saying from evolutionary
point of view, they clearly are because they hurt nobody. And if your institutions are so fragile, no, you've given your narrative, you've given your claim.
I've given David Groper.
You've given no data, no citations of any data.
David Groper, he's an evolutionary researcher.
That no data, no data.
I've given you all my other studies.
Stop talking over me. Stop talking
No,
over me.
you're talking over me. You've literally just
Stop
lied on what
talking
happened.
over me.
I have given
Stop
you data.
talking over me.
It's utterly
No,
preposterous.
I didn't say you've given me no data, period. There's a second half of the sentence. You won't let me finish.
Sure,
Okay?
go on.
No, you've given me no plausible explanation or detailed empirical analysis of how gay people fucking by themselves in a room destroys your family.
I've said that. I've
You
given
haven't.
David Goyko.
Okay,
You
all right.
haven't.
Well,
Each time I try to argue,
let's review them. Okay, what are the methods? What are the mechanisms? How are these gay people destroying your family?
So,
What you said is we might be more accepting of gay people, which is literally only bad if you assume that gay people are bad in the first place. Okay,
yes,
so there's zero normative worth to the actual claim. You understand?
No. I've said that because I've
But-
said it breaks down traditional gender roles and norms. That's my
Well, how?
reason.
No, it doesn't.
That.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does. Because I've said that basically because
Yeah, I know
it can
you
lead
said
more
it.
people. You should try being less rude, honestly. But what was I gonna say? So as I said, it leads to the more acceptance of homosexuality, which can lead to the devaluing of gender roles, which generally kids and people are happy in, which is a threat to the social fabric of society.
So do you realize I can do anything with that? Like you can reason anything into that way, right? Watch this. Acceptance of Islam can lead to the idea that the Prophet Muhammad is infallible, which can lead to the idea that he was right to have sex with a 13-year-old, which can lead to promotion of pedophilia.
Okay, so do you actually want to debate the age of Aisha?
No, I want to debate the validity of the statement that I just made. Like, was that a good argument or not? And if it was not, then it was equally bad for you to make that argument.
Because you're misunderstanding the age of Aisha. So no, it's not. And Islam forbids having sex with prepubescent people, which is the definition of pedophilia.
So 13-year-olds okay?
Well, typically in pre-industrial societies, again, I can send you a study for this. People generally hit puberty and mentally matured earlier. So.
So sex with 13-year-olds okay, right?
Not anymore, but in a pre-industrial society where people
not anymore?
way short. Because I've said people now hit puberty and get
people hitting puberty earlier now. People hitting puberty earlier now. What are you saying?
No, they're not.
Yes, they are.
One sec.
Is the extent of Islamic wisdom on how to treat little girls is that you can only fuck them after they're pubescent and you've married them? Are those the two standards? They've flowered and you married them?
They're mentally and physically mature, yes.
Is there such a thing as a mentally and physically mature 12-year-old?
Well, there's no actual connection between being physically mature and mentally mature. There's no connection.
Okay, well, why did you say that then? Why did you say so long as they're physically and mentally mature?
Because one could be really.
How do you tell if
women generally became mentally mature earlier on, but they actually hit puberty around about 17.
Okay,
so that's what I'm saying.
That's absurd. They didn't hit puberty at 17, dude.
Yeah. There's a video of that.
Like maybe you could find isolated women doing that. Okay, but the onset of puberty is roughly.
And also keep in mind
we have a medical period for it, right?
In hotter climates, women generally people generally mature faster anyway.
Okay, so
it's not pedophilia in the way you're describing. And if you look at
it is fucking little girls. It's fucking little girls, regardless, dude. Right? Even if you want to LARP about how it's hot outside and because of the humidity they're mentally older, right? It's still fucking little girls.
You can find scientific research for this.
You find great, dude. You have a wonderful basket of scientific research, man. Homosexuality, evil, fucking 12-year-olds, fine so long as it's humid enough, right?
Well, she said the Aisha of London was was the greatest hadith scholar of all time, right?
Yeah, I'm sure there's all kinds of things that they probably said about her. How old was she to you?
About 12, 13.
Okay. Any married her?
Yeah.
Any fucked her?
Yeah. Not for a while, no.
Why not?
I don't know. I don't know why you did everything you did.
Okay, so there's so normatively he could have fucked her. He just chose not to.
Perhaps, who knows? What was I gonna say? But anyways, there is actually no connection.
There's so okay. So if you want to point to your religion,
even tell me, like, what's it called?
as a
You
basis
didn't
for your
even know it's Surah
condemnation.
the Quran, and now you're trying to give me a lecture about my own religion, right? Okay.
No,
There's
I'm trying
loads
to give you a lecture about the logical consequences of your religion in today's reality, where little girls have to exist alongside with you.
No, but also
right?
what's it called
And the
in
only
traditional societies as well, how it works is also it was the entire family doing it, so the family could actually check if the person was okay and yada yada yada, right? But now, as it's individuals and we've broken down that doesn't really apply anymore. Now you generally have to wait. You can't. What's it called? You have to wait until they're physically, mentally mature, which Aisha was. She's the best. She was the greatest Hadith scholar of all time.
The extent of Islamic wisdom about fucking 12-year-old girls is what?
She's physically and mentally mature, and you're not taking advantage of her.
Is that you could fuck the 12-year-old girls, so long as who judges that she's physically and mentally mature? By the way,
no, that's she actually.
First of all, let's separate that. Mature. What does physically mature mean?
What's it called? She's past puberty.
Okay, all right. Well, let's set that to the side. Okay, we already said post-pubescent, right? So they flowered once, right? That was generally the standard back when women were passed around like chattel slaves in medieval times, right? She's flowered, right? Okay, so nothing being learned there. How do you decide if she's mentally mature enough to be fucked by a man 4 times her age?
Whether comprehension tests and stuff like that, because she was the greatest Hadith
comprehension test. No, stop talking about one person. I'm talking about little girls.
But this is generic little girls.
Generic little girls today. Okay, you have all kinds of special feelings.
All times.
Listen, you have all.
She narrated over hundreds of thousands of hadith.
Listen,
right?
Okay,
over 100,000 hadith, and you're trying to.
Okay, there's only one Aisha in history, and only one person who fucked her in history. Okay, I'm trying to figure out now. How do we figure out right now if a different 12-year-old girl is fuckable? What Islamic standards are there for her mental maturity?
I mean, they'd have to consult the family, the imam, people that know her best, and to see if.
And how would they decide?
You do realize this would be the same for a dude, right?
No, well,
a dude could marry who's like a 12-year-old dude. Or
yeah,
a 15-year-old
a 13-year-old girl getting fucked and getting pregnant is different than a 13-year-old boy fucking somebody and getting them pregnant. Okay, just in terms of just the medical consequences of it, right? Getting pregnant at that young age is horrifically dangerous. Okay, but let's not get sidetracked. Let's say you have a daughter. I'm saying in terms of, how do you decide what standards do you use yourself personally for if your 12-year-old daughter was mentally mature enough to get fucked by a 40-year-old she was married to? What standards would you use?
What I do? Well, what would be the procedure?
So it's whatever you say it is?
No, I'm asking, what are you asking me? Are you saying what I would personally do or what the actual procedure would be?
Listen, a question has been presented to you. You have your own theological background, okay? And the question is, how do I figure out if my 12-year-old girl can be fucked by this 40-year-old or not, or if she's not yet mentally mature enough for that to take place? How do you decide?
It'd be mainly down to the family's discretion, deciding
No, you can't stop projecting that. You're the family. How do you decide?
Okay, I would see if she could actually handle tough situations, if she could do loads of things,
What types of things could she do that would convince you of her mental maturity? That she could be fucked
understanding deep, complex situations, stuff like that, good memory, all that type of stuff.
She has a good memory and understands deep, complex situations.
Yeah,
then she's mentally mature enough to be fucked by a 40-year-old.
I'd say she has the possibility of getting married. Whether she should or not is up to her.
No, stop equivocating. Come on, I'm asking for the standards. What standards
would you use? Entirely up to her.
How do you? No, it's not entirely up to her. There was no point at any of the past discussions where you've said, "Oh, she would decide." You said the family would decide.
Probably in Islamic marriage.
Probably in the men in her family would decide.
Up to the woman. No, it's entirely up to the woman. There's no such thing as forced marriage in Islam. That's completely haram. It's that the woman has to accept it.
Yeah, no, I'm sure there's all these justifications why fucking a 12-year-old is not rape, right? And I'm sure, the haram I'm sure provides the exact prescriptions under which you could fuck a 12-year-old and it would not be rape. I'm asking what those prescriptions are. How do you know if you're raping a 12-year-old or if she's mentally mature enough to be fucked by you?
I've already given you my answer.
No, you've protected the family members. How would you decide? It's literally if
I've
she can
said
just
complex
understand
tests and,
if she has
stuff like
good
that.
if she has a good memory and can understand complex concepts.
Yes, and also
That's the
it's
distinction.
also very personal as well. Like actually understanding who she is as a person. The thing about it is like they could get married at that age, sure, but whether they should or not is very much up to the person. It's not like someone has to get married at that age. It's very much dependent on the person. If they turn out to be that age and they can do
If your 12-year-old says she wants to fuck the 40-year-old, then go for it. So long as she has a good memory and she can memorize complex things, right?
If she's mentally and physically mature, then yeah, I don't see any issue with
that. You'll throw out physically mature if she had her period once, right?
Yeah, possibly.
If she had any girl who has
I said if she had gone through puberty,
is physically mature,
I didn't say
right?
if she flowered. I said if she had gone through puberty. I didn't say she had just flowered.
No,
like
actually, you did say that if she flowered. Okay, that you did say.
No,
that,
I said if she had gone through puberty.
If you want to change it now, I'll allow you to change it to make it this less pedotastic, right?
I've said if she had gone through puberty. What? No, I said she had gone through puberty.
Okay.
I said that at the beginning.
Yeah, there's these hypothetical 12-year-olds who are super mature with their good memories who've gone through puberty already.
Yeah, I mean, in the modern day, would this what's it called? In the modern day, would this type of stuff be as common? Probably not, because people get
In the modern day, we would rely on secular institutions to stop 12-year-old girls from being victimized by old men.
Nowadays, women and men generally get mentally and physically mature later, so that's why.
Well, unless it was hot out, right? You could fuck girls way younger if it's hot out, right?
Hot out? What?
Hot outside, hot desert climates, right?
No, it's well in desert climates. Yeah, women generally age maturely, but because of pre-industrial, do you know what dyseugenics is?
No.
Okay, so basically, I don't really agree with it because it's kind of borderline eugenics. But the point
I
makes
haven't
here.
invested a lot of effort into theory under which I could fuck 12-year-olds at all as an enterprise.
Okay, but basically it talks about how in pre-industrial societies generally you had to mature faster and stuff like that because you need to have kids earlier and stuff like that. But because of it's easier to get medical conditions, medical conscriptions now and stuff like that. People with weaker genes can generally survive, so that's why the maturity rate's gone up, average. So that's why.
Well, so
again, okay. Let's say
show us, by the way.
Let me ask you this:
earlier,
if she is physically and mentally mature and she's about 13, 14, what's the problem?
There's no such thing as a physically or mentally mature 12-year-old.
But I've given you evidence of one, and I've said there's no connection between the two. And if they've gone through it, then what's the issue? This is a hypothetical. Grant me this hypothetical.
She's not sufficiently mature to be fucked.
Grant me this. Come on. If she's physically and mentally mature, what's the problem?
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with a physically and mentally mature adult woman having consensual sex.
But you realize the age of consent isn't actually quite arbitrary.
With an entire society that's based around prepackaging virginal 12-year-olds to their 40-year-old masters to be deflowered under the appropriate, not haram, circumstances.
What? I've asked you for a hypothetical, and you've just insisted there isn't, even though I've given you evidence there can be.
So, I guess my core underlying theory here is, why should I trust that Islamic people people who are basing their views on Islamic values? Why should I trust them at all to make any sense whatsoever about normative aspects of sexuality when they can't seem to figure out how to prohibit fucking 12-year-olds?
But again, I've asked you, which you haven't got to. You do realize that age is socially constructed, right? It's not actually an objective biological thing. I've asked you, hey, can you actually give me a genuine reason as of just feelings of why, if someone's physically and mentally mature, and you didn't grant me that, if you do grant me that, why is that wrong?
Well, there's nothing wrong if they're physically and mentally mature, but if they're physically and mentally mature, they're an adult.
But you realize that the concept of adult is based around puberty and mental age. And that's not drawn at a specific line. That's actually changed throughout history because of pre-industrial societies and climates, etc., etc. So by the definition of their time, she was an adult. The concept of a teenager and all of these things have only appeared in the last 100 years.
The phrase adult can be reduced to normatively okay to fuck, right? And I do agree that the Islamic tradition has been giving itself normative okays to fuck very young girls for a very long time. I don't disagree with any of that at all.
You realize before the 20th century, like, what's it called? Children would see themselves as equal to adults, right? And like they still exist
Well,
in
I mean,
some society.
except for like if one family paid enough for them to join, right? Because they're such a burden, right?
Mhm.
Let's throw out things like dowries. Let's throw out things like complete financial.
Dowries are not a thing in Islam.
Let's throw out basically everything to do with how they are commodified.
But
Right.
dowries aren't a thing in Islam.
Okay, what's the equivalent?
You don't really have one. If a husband really wants to marry a
There's no such thing as a
marry
bride. There's no such thing as a bride price. I won't find anything where they call that.
if she wants it and the family wants it, but
Law
mainly her,
commands a groom
then
to give
he
a bride
can
a gift
show a
called
token of
mahar
gratitude.
prior
Like,
to the consummation of the marriage.
Pardon?
MAHR. What is that?
muha.
Yeah, what is that?
Like I was saying, basically, what's it called? I was saying. Let me finish. Basically, if both spouses consent to it, the husband can put forward some money to show that he's really enthusiastic and stuff like that.
Yeah,
But that's not
totally,
buying her. That's to show
totally
your
different from a dowry, right?
Yeah, that is different. Dowry. You're actually buying the bride there, and they pay the husband's family to take care of to have the wife. Well, this is the husband, showing his love and stuff for the or commitment to the marriage. It's quite a good idea actually, because it stops people from just flimsily jumping on and actually being committed.
Good ideas are laws involving statutory rape and the prohibition thereof.
Yeah, and rape carries the death penalty in Islam.
Yeah, but if you define away all the versions of rape that matter, then it really doesn't matter. Like, if you get rid of the version of rape where a 40-year-old victimizes a 12-year-old because him and his family.
You haven't given me any Quranic or historical evidence to suggest that she has been victimized. I can give you plenty to show she wasn't.
Are you talking about? Are you going back to your mythical best Islamic scholar of all time?
Yeah, Aisha. Yeah, I mean, in the modern day, because of puberty and mental age going up. Yeah, because of mental age and maturity going up. Now, yeah, sure, it's not really a thing anymore. But that doesn't mean what he did and during that point in time is wrong.
So I guess what I'm pointing out here is that I can't really see anything in the Islamic values that gets you to statutory rape laws.
Pardon?
What is the Islamic justification for statutory rape laws? Do you know what I mean by statutory rape?
What? No, please inform me.
Statutory rape. It's I know it's at very least a concept in America. It's the idea that you have, like, for example, a 12-year-old and a 20-year-old, right? Or a 40-year-old, whatever. Let's just say 12-year-old and 40-year-old. The 12-year-old consents to having sex. The 40-year-old has sex with her. It's called statutory rape in America, because we have decided that there is no way that any 12-year-old girl could give meaningful, informed consent.
Yes, but this is before the freaking industrial. I've already explained this a billion times. This is before the industrial age, pre-industrial age, when women and in hotter climates, women and men matured faster, and mentally, physically matured faster. So again, this doesn't really apply.
First of all,
you can't take advantage of
because they died sooner does not mean they matured faster.
But they did. I've sent you evidence. Look in the chat. I've sent you evidence. I'm probably gonna have to go in the next 5-10 minutes. By the way, it's quite late here.
Okay.
So I've sent you evidence for that, and I can also send you a thing about hotter climates if you want to read that.
No, I mean this. So
in the context of the time, it was perfectly fine.
The whole I understand. As far as Islam could possibly figure out about the way humans should relate to one another, they have added literally nothing to how we should treat little girls.
Yeah, they have. You got yeah, they have. What's called child marriage and stuff like that is forbidden.
Okay, but if you say child marriage is forbidden, but a 12-year-old can decide that she's mature enough, or the 12-year-old's family could decide she's mature enough, and then she's not a child, and then you can marry her.
Oh yeah, because by the definitions of that time, she would have been an adult.
You're just playing a
by
word
the definitions
game.
of that time. No, by the definition of that time, she would have been an adult. By the definitions of that time, she would have been an adult.
No, but there's by no. Okay, yeah, by the standards of is it okay to fuck 12-year-olds?
You're being hyperbolic and you're being quite rude.
I'm not being
You're
hyperbolic.
not listening to what I'm saying. You're not responding. You're just going fucking 12-year-olds. No, what I'm saying is by the standards of the time.
12-year-olds is bad, and it might be the case, okay, that people couldn't figure out that fucking 12-year-olds was as bad as it actually is back then. All that is to say that that's another way in that your Islamic values left you deeply bereft of actual human wisdom and a way to relate to one another.
Could you repeat that? Sorry, I was just speaking to my sister.
To say that it was okay back then, right, is just to say that Islam is in the same boat as everybody else as far as being unable to figure out that you shouldn't fuck 12-year-olds. Okay.
But okay,
now,
I've already responded to all of these arguments. This is utterly absurd. I've said that. I pointed out that age is just.
You just said.
Listen to me.
I stipulated that the 12-year-old was an adult.
Look,
that's
yes, because by the standards of the time was. I've given you evidence that people in pre-industrial societies matured faster, and you've just ignored it. You've just insisted that you were a 12-year-old.
Societies fuck people earlier.
No, I've given you. You're getting so mad. Oh my goodness, jeez, you really need to calm down. You're just you know I'm not mad because I don't get this mad in debates.
No, you're not getting mad at all. I can tell.
Because I've given you scientific evidence. You're just using your feelings here. You're just getting mad about this. You're not giving me any scientific rebuttal.
Okay, what scientific justification have you provided to me?
I have
that fucking 12-year-olds was not harmful to them at the time.
Because I pointed out people in pre-industrial societies hit physically and mentally matured faster, and people in hot climates do as well.
Okay, you've linked a graph. You've linked
and a study. If he looks above,
that the age of physical maturity. Okay, so
and mental.
In fact, scientifically, the age of puberty, physical maturity was historically lower than in post-industrial revolution, as well as psychosocial maturity, mental maturity. Okay, so back then,
by the standards of their time,
fucking a 12-year-old would be like fucking a 14-year-old. I don't know.
No, it'd be like having sex with a 19-year-old or 20-year-old. Or
it's you know how I talk to Christians and the fact that the Bible is so full of endorsements for slavery, right? And they're like,
okay, sorry.
Well, because he's linking graphs to why it was okay to fuck 12-year-olds.
You're being so immature. Look,
I'm not being nearly as immature as the girls that are being fucked by 40-year-old Islamic dudes.
Okay, cool. Can we please end the debate here, please?
Do you want to?
I did hope this would. Yes, I do, because this is not getting anywhere, and you're not listening to what I'm saying. You're just using your emotions. I would have hoped this would have been productive, and I do appreciate you taking the time to debate with me. Have a nice day.
Okay. So he can end it. He's real mad. Okay.